Hey there, comic book friends. I'm Travis, and it's Comic Book Roundtable. And tonight it's just Mike. Yeah, it's just Mike tonight. Sergeant America, how's it going, sir?
Excellent, excellent. A little stormy over here, but I survived. So
So we middle of the week was stormy now, and now it's
yes.
supposed to get up into the 80s and 90s. I'm going to be trapped in a car for 5 hours. So that'll be awesome, just getting cooked as I'm on the road. But hey, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever. So we didn't discuss beforehand what we wanted to talk about. It occurred to me we didn't flip the imaginary 3-sided coin to decide what we were talking about first. You got a preference?
No, whatever book really got you this week.
Let's start out with Marvel, shall we?
Oh, okay.
Because you are lucky enough to be able to walk into your store and go, I'm getting that or I'm not getting that.
Yes.
You can avoid the Hulk.
Yes.
Which I kind of like that cover, other than I hate that green stripy thing. They do address her grayness in this issue.
All right.
So after the whole blowout last issue, which me and you were both universally disappointed in the just lackluster all around of that issue. This issue starts out with her, and she's in a survivors help group, meeting in the basement of the church. People are sharing their horror stories of lost loved ones and that sort of thing. She doesn't want to share. There's a little bit of discussion around that. She goes off to blow off steam. I guess she's a lawyer for somebody who has a place that's getting demoed. And so she helps to demo it. That's how she, gets out some of her aggression. She doesn't want to do the have a good cry. A person at the self-help place says, it might be good to just have a good cry. And she's kind of insulted by that. So she hulks out and rips the hell a bunch of stuff. Hellcat shows up, has a kind of a small discussion with her. It was all right. I'm so dissatisfied with the last issue that I'm just kind of, I'm not excited about the book anymore, and I don't like the way she looks. So they talk about the Gray Hulk thing. She doesn't know why she's that way. She wonders now if she's more like Bruce Banner, except she doesn't seem to have control issues. So I'm not sure exactly what that reflection is, or she's concerned that maybe she will get those issues now that she's graying, instead of being green. She doesn't feel like the Hulk anymore. She doesn't feel like herself when she changes into the Hulk. Whereas before, she was always comfortable in her green skin. She is not comfortable as the Hulk, and she's trying to figure that out. So there are still elements of the story I like. I just know, it just feels to me like I just know that as the book goes along, I'm going to be disappointed, though. There'll be these elements I like, and then I'm not, and then they're going to give me some big payoff, and the payoff's going to be not. I don't know.
Well, and I like the idea of her being gray because it showed a little bit of difference. I don't like, as you mentioned, the green was either floating or, whatever it was wrong with that. Because if there was scars, it would make sense.
Yeah, I mean, it literally, I mean, here it looks like glowing leeches. I mean, they're lifted off of her body in this case. The green stripe across her nose looks like, adamant war paint, but the other parts, well, sometimes it doesn't, but sometimes it looks like it's literally lifted off the page.
The art looks sharper. Is that a different artist than normal?
It is, I think.
Okay.
Durante, I believe. Yeah. So it's more conventional straight line kind of thing.
Very Marvel, House Marvel,
Right. So the other thing that goes on in here while she's having her her chat with Hellcat, which is it's a good conversation. This, her chat with Hellcat and whatnot. These other guys have stopped at some house and they're buying Monster, and not the drink, but this Monster. Like some street drug or they don't know what, turns you into a monster for a while, and then you come down off of it, supposedly, kind of thing. And you don't know what they're going to do with it. Jennifer goes to watch her cooking show, and it's this guy who's doing a YouTube channel about, Steve Cakes. It's all about cakes. And these guys that bought the Monster stuff, they're the camera crew. And because he's trying to make his cooking show a high-end cooking show, so hopefully he gets picked up by the cooking channel, does the old YouTube to fame thing.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, while they're there, they think it's going to be pretty funny. They lace the cake with Monster. They when no one's watching. They spike the cake. So on camera, this nice timid guy who makes cakes starts to eat this cake, and he monsters out, and of course that leaves Jennifer going, "Oh no, my baking show has been corrupted," so she's gonna have to rush off to save him, I guess. But yeah, he turns into this quasi swamp thing ish looking dude. So,
and it is interesting with the gray idea, because when the Hulk went gray and was Mr. Fix-It, that's when he was gaining more of his intelligence, his control. I do feel like she had lost control in the last issue. Like there was a little bit of an issue with that, but yeah, it wasn't enough that I could go back to it. It was just, I didn't feel like it seemed to be getting. It was a very smart book. I was enjoying the storyline, and then boy, that issue just kind of ruined it for me. And the art looked rushed, and now we have this other person, so.
Yeah, and that's kind of how I feel reading it. The time I'm reading, I'm going, okay, there are parts of this I kind of like, but I kind of feel like I know I'm gonna be mad again in a couple issues. So when I order my books, I'm not gonna order, unfortunately, because I like Jennifer Walters' Hulk. And the stuff that everybody else, I think a lot of other people were complaining about it, the fact she wasn't hulking out, she wasn't doing all that stuff. I actually liked all that non-stuff. I liked the post-traumatic stress stuff and whatnot. That made for an interesting story. But
maybe it's the writer. Maybe the writer's good at the person, but not good at the battles. I could see that if it's somebody who writes something totally different.
Yeah. I don't know. And now that I'm talking about it, maybe I'm thinking maybe I'll hang on a few more issues. I don't know. You know what I think I'm going to do? I think I'm going to drop it, and then hopefully the local shop gets it. So if because I order 2 months in advance.
Yeah.
So if like the next issue, I'm like, oh man, this is great again. I'll pick up the issues I missed there and call it good. So.
Well, and I do remember that there is going to be an artist change on it here before too long, like 1 or 2 more books. So I thought it was 10, so maybe it's at 7, 2 more.
Well, I don't know, because it's at 7 now. How many issues is this going to last? I mean, I'm always suspect if it makes it 12. It's probably lucky.
Yeah.
I don't know how many people are reading it. Like I said, I know you were reading it. I was reading it. I know Mercy was reading it.
Yeah.
None of us liked last issue. I mean, that was pretty universal. I think Mercy even said, "No, this is So I don't know. I mean, I would like to see her kind of work through getting past this. I mean, that'd be an interesting story. Her figuring out how to get past that, and maybe go back to being somewhat closer to the She-Hulk that I like, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know. We'll see.
And it's too bad. She's had a lot of good runs where Sensational She-Hulk, and then the one you were reading where her eyes are a little.
Well, she's a lawyer. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Because that artwork threw me off, but I know a lot of people were enjoying it during that time frame, and it's. I don't know. She's had some good runs, so I was really hoping this one would take off too. So.
Yeah. At any rate, what do you got?
Well, I picked the number 5 of the Kingpin, and with this one, the artist returned. So last issue, I think it was 1 through 3 was Tor's. We had a different artist, and then this Tor's came back. This is the last one, and this is another one where Rosenberg was really doing a decent story. I was really enjoying it. It was you didn't know, was Kingpin really as bad as he always portrayed? Is he forced into being a bad guy? This one pretty much came out and was like, this was the big F you to the girl, and then to us, the readers, I felt. Because it starts off with the boxer. He's getting his titles match, and somebody comes and tells him to throw the fight, and the girl finds out about it. She goes to Wilson to talk with him about, what's going on. And he basically said, this is how it is. Your guy only got the title shot because we allow it, and he's going to throw it, and he's going to make me a lot of money. So, I mean, he basically, maybe it's the turn. I know eventually in all these books, you're supposed to be the turn.
Mhm.
and it just felt like it was too blatant. Like he didn't need to put pressure on the female writer. He didn't need to just come out and say it that way. Um, she shows up at the fight and she's been trying to convince the boxer to throw the fight, and he's like, "No, Fisk is a wannabe. He's not really this bad guy everybody says he is. He's a hood." And she's like, "You're gonna die." She tries to confront him, and he's sitting right next to um, Tombstone and Jigsaw and all of them, and he's like, "What's going on?" And he's like, "Don't embarrass me here. This is all business, just the same as with you. You're going to write this book." And she's, gone back to drinking. Her life is unraveling at this point, and
Sure.
it just seems so weird that he just constantly kept nailing her with the, "I'm the bad guy, and this is it." The mask came off, and this is what it's always been. The boxer decides not to throw the fight, but he still gets beat. But everybody loses their money because they didn't win in the round at the time that they said. They don't say what happens to the boxer, but at the end, Wilson, you see the lady walking down the road, and she goes to a bookstore, and it's the Life and Crimes or Life and Times of Wilson
Mhm.
Fisk, signing by the author, but it's not her, it's Wilson. He's sitting there, and underneath her name, or it's like written by Fisk, and then her name is underneath there. But he's signing the books, so everybody's getting this glorious story because basically she wrote most of it when she was fooled, and then he just put the end cap on. He had somebody ghostwrite it, or he wrote it. I don't know. It just felt like a letdown. All of it was going so well, and then I don't know if they were told, number 5, you're done, or if they didn't make the numbers, if this is always the way it was going to be, because
Mhm.
Marvel never tells us these things. They don't want us to know. So
Right.
it was a little bit of a disappointment. I was expecting more.
Yeah. Well, that's too bad, because that's right, because Marvel doesn't do quote unquote miniseries anymore, right? Generally,
Right. Yeah,
I mean,
I never.
they have their event books, but they don't have.
Yeah. An arc sometimes will tell you 3 of 4,
Mhm.
or
Mhm.
1 of 3. But yeah, on some of these, if they do it, because I think they're like, write an arc and then have extra if we can, if it sells well.
Yeah, don't
And
write
if
yourself
not,
into a hole. Yeah.
yeah. And if not, Marvel can still say, "Oh no, that's always what we wanted to do. It wasn't money. It wasn't any of this."
Okay. Okay. Sure.
Or,
Yeah,
or at least
I
I
can see
feel
that.
that way. I don't know. As a reader, I don't know, but it always feels that way.
Uh-huh. So, do you feel like if they said up front that you'd still get it?
Yes, I would definitely. And knowing it was a 5 issue, I'm fine
Right.
with miniseries. In fact, I'm
So,
starting to like those more.
right. So you're thinking that maybe the ending ended the way it did because they were told you don't have 2 arcs to tell this whole thing. You gotta finish it now.
Right. Yeah, I think they said you didn't meet your magic number. Go
Right.
ahead and
Right.
end it on this one.
Sure.
So he had the turn here as opposed to it being a longer arc, because it really felt like there was something that should have gone on with the boxer, that they should have told us what happened to the boxer, and then more with her and him, digging the hole deeper. But
Um. Yeah. I think it's hard to end a book though too. I'm dissatisfied with a lot of ending of books, even if it's a planned thing. I think sometimes ending a story is sometimes hard to do. It
yeah,
seems to me like so. Yeah. The other Marvel book I got this week was Ms. Marvel, issue number 19. So this is the first stuff that's written um, post American election. Basically, this is the first story come, and you could tell um, that's the case. So in this issue, Ms. Marvel is basically back at home, living her life. They are celebrating horrible with Muslim holidays. So
Ramadan.
I don't think so.
All right.
It is It's Eid al-Adha is what it is. So celebrating the Prophet Muhammad, sacrificing a sheep instead of his sons, kind of thing. And so it starts out with a cute thing of them debating on whether or not they're gonna butcher this goat. And of course, Kamala doesn't want to butcher the goat because the goat's cute. And they're all like, look, it's food. This is where your food comes from. It's good to know where your food comes from, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, funny stuff around that. And for those of us who are not educated in Muslim holidays and whatnot, it gives us a little bit of background, which is cool. I completely appreciate that. Incorporating it into the comic in a way that feels appropriate and not strange. So I appreciate all that. But anyway, they were out of town for that. They come rolling back into town. It starts out really great, because they kind of live in a Muslim community, so they're rolling down the street really slow and people are saying hi and all that kind of great stuff. Wonderful neighborhood. And they get up to about where their house is at, and there's roadblocks across and signs saying for, people to get out, road closed, that they're, bring back the real Jersey is the slogans that are there. Like, oh, that's kind of strange. Well, they go inside, they have their dinner. They decide they're going to leave after eating. They're going to go walk off their food, and they run into some guys that are walking down the street dressed in kind of uniforms. They say they're part of some new, organization that's been set up by the mayor, and they are basically checking out suspicious people in the neighborhood. And they've heard rumors that that a superpowered person is coming from Kamala's house. And of course, Kamala's thinking, oh no, the neighbors saw me slip out the window as Ms. Marvel. They didn't say anything to us. They just ratted us out. How horrible this whole is, kind of a thing. You've got to find out that these guys work for the mayor. Well, they don't work for the mayor that Kamala helped get hired. That guy got voted out in some secret council, and the mayor that's there now is a guy who was in an arc like 2 arcs ago that's part of Hydra. All right. He's the mayor. They're going to they want Jersey to go back to being the way Jersey used to be, a little more wider, a little more, all this, the good old days, kind of stuff. And so there's some beef going on there. Ms. Marvel figures she knows who might be behind it besides the mayor. She goes off. She finds out that an old a character that she got into a conflict with back during the Civil War, somebody who was teamed up with her to arrest people who are going to do future crimes.
Okay, yeah.
And then she ended up being in conflict with that person because that person had no problem with locking people up and doing capital punishment on people who were supposedly going to do crimes. Except now she's working for the mayor, so she's on the right side of the law. Kamala is questionably maybe not on the right side of the law. And they get into a big brawl at the end of it. And by the end of it, her brother gets hauled off because her brother briefly, a few arcs ago, well, back when the world was going to end, when I think Secret Wars was happening, actually, not even Civil War, he briefly had some powers. He briefly somehow got exposed to the toxic gas or something, turned him into he had superpowers briefly. They end up coming and scooping him up and hauling him off because, he's a superpowered person. He's like, well, no, not anymore. I mean, they literally, drag him off, throw him in a truck and drive away with him, kind of a thing. So, yeah. There are elements of Ms. Marvel I really like. It almost feels like the retelling of Germany a la 1938 to 1940 here, where they're coming along and they're clearing out the undesirables the way they're doing it. It's almost too on the nose, Nazism. And of course, then we have a Hydra agent is the mayor. This isn't tied into, it doesn't say it's tied into the secret empire thing at all. This
is probably the best way of doing it, though.
It is as far as that goes. It's not vulgar, and it's within the storytelling of this story. I mean, it makes sense, but it almost feels too on the nose. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, oh, this is, I'm sure somewhere it's probably going to change. And maybe I'm just falling out of love with the book too at issue 19. I'm now technically about the close to 30 issues in. That doesn't mean I should be tired of it, but maybe we're running out of the stuff that was fun. Maybe we're starting to run out of that.
All right. Well, and I do wonder, because I mean, G. Willow Wilson, I know this is her baby and all that, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure it's pulling in some numbers, and she may not be feeling it still. Like, it would be good for her to walk away for a little bit and then come back when she's reinvigorated, but nobody else could, I think, write her.
Not to this degree, I don't think. I mean, because the upside to having G. Willow Wilson do it is G. Willow Wilson is Muslim, and so all of those elements that Muslim person living in America. Granted, she's not of Pakistan descent, so she's not she's not not writing herself literally in the book. But I don't think Marvel has currently a lot of writers that probably have the background that she has, as far as a lot of those elements that could be added into it and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and I just got to imagine it's got to be exhausting to keep doing some of these books over and over again, to keep it especially at that level where it was coming in so good. I don't know if they've done anything different on editorial on her, but
I don't know. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not sure how much of it has to do with the fact that some of those fun elements. I've been exposed to all of them now. Now it's just okay. Now we got superhero stories. What are we gonna do? Kind of a thing.
Because you read her A-Force, didn't you, during Secret Wars, or even before that? I think she was writing before it.
Yeah, I mean, I've been writing. I've been reading it since the beginning. When it first came out, and so we're on this is the second run of it, because they restarted it obnoxiously. I can't remember if they restarted it during Now or if they restarted it. No, it wasn't Now. Maybe they restarted it the first Now. I don't remember anymore. But it went like 15, 17 issues, and then started over. Started over again. And like I said, maybe some of my the honeymoon is over just because just my own personal. I think the book is still a good book. I mean, it's still a book I'd recommend. I just think that maybe because of what my mind frame was during the election and after the election and whatnot, the issues that came out during that time where they tried writing stories that were, let's get out and vote kind of thing. And the comic came out, got stalled. It came out late. It came out after the election. It really was like, I mean, maybe somebody who reads it not during the climate or has nothing to do with American politics, maybe that wouldn't feel the same way. But to me, it was just kind of like, oh man, this is poor timing for this, for this book. And I'm not saying that it shouldn't have a political stance. I mean, because the book does, in a sense, all the time. I mean, unfortunately, just being a Muslim American in the United States seems to be unfortunately a political stance in one sense. It just feels like we've gotten away from her exploring what it's like to be a superhero, a new superhero, that kind of fun element of what's that all about. And we dipped into teen drama in a way that doesn't interest me, and that clearly maybe is the fact I'm an old white guy, and so that doesn't interest me. So kind of hoping we get back into more exploration of the, I'm a new superhero, except she's not as new of a superhero. So I don't know.
When the writer was doing the all-female Avengers A-Force, I felt that was, like you said, it was a lot of fun, and it had a lot of flash and style. And I just think that maybe that's the thing. She just needs to do something different right now.
It could be, but I just can't imagine anybody else writing the character.
Right.
Not to this level. Not in a solo book. I mean, clearly other people write her. I'm assuming she's still in the Champions. Is that what they're called? Yes, I believe so. Yeah. And I'm assuming she's still in that. So I don't know. Right. That's it for my Marvel books, though.
I have Old Man Logan. and this was written by Brisson and, of course, art by Diodato. I have been a sucker for Diodato for a long time during the Dark Reign run and all that. This does say Days of Anger Part 1, but of course, as I flip in, it doesn't say one of what.
Right.
So, but I do know that a lot of this has already been done and drawn. There's a couple in the can. Um, it starts off with an old man has all these young children, and he talks with them and says, there are people that hate us, and we need to protect ourselves. They go back into the mountainside, and you see it's Department H. So he is in the Canadian Rockies, part of the Alpha Flight, Weapon X people, and all that kind of stuff. It cuts to Logan coming into a diner, and he notices there's something wrong, and he does a little trick with the waitress. How's Jeannie doing? Jeannie took the week off. And then, of course, he grabs that waitress and says, Jeannie's never worked here, Right. Everybody goes to beat him up, and he's like, I don't know who any of you people are. And then all of a sudden, they start hulking out. They're a bunch of hulks, and It is people from the wastelands, from the old Lemire run, where he, tore through the Hulk's family, and they've come back for revenge. Well, all these people are supposed to be dead. He killed them, and they're supposed to be in the wasteland. But he goes, I guess I came back. How are these other people coming back? So that's what's supposed to get you invigorated and going. Yeah, and because I read the previous stuff, I really want to know. Somebody who's new picking it up, it's somewhat interesting. Of course, it's Wolverine fighting Hulk. So as any Marvel fanboy, yeah,
That's where it all started. That's where it all started.
Exactly. Of course, it does show Maestro on the cover, and that's who the old man talking to the children was. It was Maestro, and all these children are the Hulks. So you see all these people, hulking up. But it's interesting. I mean, there's confusion, of course, because of everything that happened in the Wastelands and how the story goes, but a lot of this, it seems to be some of the Secret Wars 2 or the Doom Secret Wars. Mm-hmm. These are all people that are kind of been pulled out of the smattering of other universes. So it'll be interesting. Of course, it's going to be Wolverine fighting more and more Hulks. So I'm enjoying it for that, and I can't wait to see how this continues.
Sure. But because you've gotten off that for a while, right?
Yes, when the artist was somebody else, I can't even think who it was. I originally jumped on Sorrentino and Lemire. Lemire stayed on it, but of course Sorrentino was taken because they need good artists, even though artists don't matter in Marvel, but they needed them for the event.
Right.
So I picked up those Sorrentino books, but Diodato, he's another one that I've loved. Diodato Jr. technically, so I love that artwork.
Cool. Well,
all right. That was it from that. You had another one?
Nope, that was it. I just had those two.
I just had the two. One last thing that I'll talk about. I do have the Vision right here. This is issue 1 and 2 in the director's cut. Basically, it's the first 2 issues, so you read it just normally like you do 2 issues, and then there's breakdowns and art, and then there's his 1-page pitch to Marvel. And it's pretty much his idea and storyline on here's the Vision, works for DC, here's the family, here's the interaction, runs into Grim Reaper. And so it was nice to see that laid out. And then you see King's discussion on like what he would say for each one, like here's a brief description, here's what they actually say. That's what's weird, because it's like Vivian stands up from table, she says this, and that's it. And I'm like, he must have talked quite a bit with the writer or the artist beforehand, because that is just so little to tell anybody.
Yeah. Or or you let the artist do what the artist wants to do then, right?
Yeah, because it was
so they don't even he doesn't even write like an establishing shot. I mean, he doesn't go,
no. Page 1, panel 1. We're inside the 2 eyes of the neighbors of the Vision. We're looking from the inside of the house at the door leading outside, and then caption what the people actually. Or there's captions. I just lost one of my ears. But yeah, like when they get around the table, then it's just simple things like, let me flip to that real quick.
I may have to pick this up. I loved the Vision. What did you think of the
Yeah.
story?
The story I really enjoyed. The artwork was, since it's not Marvel traditional, it took me just a little bit to adjust. I mean, of course, it is the beautiful art that you loved and saw in there. Trying to see the Gabriel Hernandez Walta, and Jody Belair colors. So I mean, because of the, you're used to the Vision and the Vision's outfit and everything, but then to see him in a Ward Cleaver outfit and his wife and everybody trying to be normal, that was, it's interesting. Oh, one more thing. This is my book. You can tell because it's got my fingerprint on it.
Oh, that's nice. It's personalized.
Yeah. Once again, Marvel, please spend an extra $1 something and give me a better cover, especially for a director's cut.
No kidding.
But yeah, it's like Vision, or close on the Vision looking scared, and then caption. Okay. Vision getting out of bed, caption. Panel 5, Vision standing over his wife, caption. Vision looking down, panel 6. It's just simple things like that. So I mean, yeah, I am surprised. I've seen.
Well, that
like
kind of goes to right. Well, some writers
yeah.
want to get.
Yeah, Bendis tells you the movie picture, looking over his shoulder. Think about Apocalypse Down when he's coming out of the water. I'm like, oh my goodness, he's using every movie reference, Bendis style, and then you get to this minimalism.
Which depending on what your artist is like, I guess depends on what you do. Some artists like the freedom. Some artists want clear-cut guidelines so they don't have to think about it, kind of thing. Yeah. But I think it also goes to show that how much the artist is as much the storyteller as the writer is, even though, us in layman terms, lots of times we get into these conversations and we go, oh, the story is written by, Tom King. He's the one that created the whole story and how it all works and whatnot. And the artist just made pretty pictures. That's not really accurate. Lots of these artists are really doing the heavy lifting, really, kind of a thing. So, yeah, interesting.
Yeah. And as much as it's director's cut, if you want to say Tom King, I mean, a lot of it too is the art. They tell him, well, here's how we came to the idea of how the cover was going to be. Like, I did it 5 times, did all these different changes. Here's the final product. I like that. I like learning more about the craft.
So what's the price tag on that? It's 2 books. You get 2 issues plus a bunch of back matter. What are they asking?
$6.99.
Okay. So $7 book.
Yeah. So yeah, $7 because somebody was discussing it. I said, the Wednesday Comics podcast is talking about it. And they said for $7, 2 comics plus the additional stuff. Yeah. And I already know it's great. I mean, that's the thing too. I don't even have to worry about.
So it's actually cheaper to buy it that way.
It seems to be, yeah. Oh yeah,
well, it's a $3.99 book normally.
Yeah. Yep.
So that's that's $8 just to buy it to 2 issues versus $7 to get 2 issues plus how the soup was made.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh. That's a good deal. If you haven't read it yet and you're not interested in getting the trades, you still want quasi floppies, pick the book up. It is so good. It is so good. It's got these characters we kind of know, but we don't really know them, and we get this whole different story. But it still kind of ties into superheroes, so it's still a superhero book, but the way they do it is really, really, really fascinating. Really fascinating.
Yeah, I loved it, and like I said, you're paying that money, and then you're like, and I already know it's amazing. It's going to be awesome. So, thank you for talking about it. Thanks to Sleepy and everybody that was reading it and talking it up. So,
yeah, Comics to Comics, the first person I really heard really, really talking it up, and maybe decide I needed to make sure I got it. So, alrighty, so that's it for Marvel books this week. Any Marvel news?
Nothing that's springing out to mind right offhand.
Yeah, I couldn't think of anything either. Which is maybe a good thing. Nice quiet week. Sometimes that's a good thing. Yeah, that's a good thing. Alrighty, want to talk some DC books then?
I'd be happy to. Yep.
Okay. I I know I've got way more DC books than you do. Let me see. I'm going to talk about this one. Young Animals, Bug.
I like that monster on that cover.
Forager. That's a Yeti. That's an abominable snowman. Yeah, he's even got the little horn. Check that out. I love the cover. I mean, I'm not a big fan of white covers, but I love this one just because, you know, it's just like his legs and his arms because his costume is white. So in this issue, Bug has been teleported to World War II. He is in the Himalayas, he finds out, and he has run into the Losers, which obscure Jack Kirby war comic characters, and the Losers have been assigned some special operatives. The special operatives are the original Blue Beetle, Sandman, and can't remember this kid's name. But yeah, and so they have this whole conversation. He's in kind of a different reality, though. It's not 100% his own reality. So they're like, oh, you know, Blue Beetle's like, no, it's Sandman. Goes, oh yeah, I know who he is. He's the Red Bee, you know, and he has a belt, and his belt has a little pouch on it, and that little pouch he actually carries a bee, and they're like, you know, because they found him, you know, he's like, because they think he's a robot to start out with, because these guys are hunting robots, and it's like one of the guys is like, I don't see no pouch on him, you know, clearly he's not the Red Bee, and it's like, look, he's up in the Himalayas in wintertime, he's not going to carry his bee with him then because it would freeze. Anyway. Whereas the first issue, I was like, okay, this is just loopy and goofy, and I'm gonna like it for the art, but the story was, you know, what the hell? This issue is still kind of goofy and whatnot. He says a lot of stuff that verges on like talking like you're from the late '60s, early '70s, you know, the kind of groovy man kind of stuff and whatnot, which is to me is kind of fun because it's just kind of trippy. It goes along with the Mike Allred art, but this one had a more cohesive timeline. So I mean, storyline. It actually goes from, you know, from A to Z in a linear fashion. So he is hunting down this doctor who's getting this special metal. He needs that little piece of metal to get himself back, you know, kind of a thing. They cement some of the stuff that in the first issue we were kind of going, what the heck? But there's some great lines in here. They can't get the walkie-talkie to work right, and they ask Bug to fix it for him. And he's like, well, okay, you asked for this, you know, because the guy's like, I don't know what I'm doing. You know, he turns into a mother box, and it does all the mother box pings on him all the time, and it does all kinds of stuff. It makes them so warm they don't have to wear their big jackets anymore, you know, kind of thing. There's this large conversation on the fact that there are no Yetis, there are no abominable snowman, because if there were, they'd be on the cover of National Geographic. If you haven't seen a picture of it, it doesn't exist. And then of course they run into a whole, you know, pack of them at one point, you know, that they basically shoo into this well, they're in the Mande Pararat, or however you say it, up in the Himalayas, a secret, you know, Shangri-La place, and this guy, Nazi type guy, has taken it over along with his robots. His robots are awesome because his robots look like they got giant plugs for heads, which I just really like. But they get the Yetis. Here's the robots marching together, right? So it's literally these, you know, cords with plugs and stuff, and they, I mean, it's just a fun, goofy, you know, kind of a comic that I like I said, I really like the Mike Allred art. Oh yeah, here's all the Yetis. They herd them into the cave, and of course it's just a big sea of Yetis and busted up robots by this point. So, but just ridiculous and fun. And there's some good one-liners in it. I mean, they're trying to decide how they're going to break into this secret laboratory place and whatnot. And Blue Beetle's like, well, we'll do Plan A, the superhero Plan A. We'll yell and scream about justice, and we'll charge in and take them all out. And the other guys are like looking at him and going, no, that's not a good plan. That sounds really, and then one of the other guys is like, yeah, it sounds really good if you're bulletproof like you are, you know. But it's like, he's like, well, okay, so Plan B, we cause a distraction, and then we yell things about justice and attack them and whatnot. It's just a goofy, funny book. I mean, I don't know that I would necessarily recommend it to anybody unless you like Mike Allred's art. If you like the Allred art, it's worth it for that because it's just fun. There's some, he he draws these pages that you look at, and normally other people would draw it if they drew it that way. I'd be frustrated because they look like they're running in air as opposed to running on the ground. But for some reason, it works when he does it. He has a style that I'm like, oh, okay, I can buy them, doing that and whatnot.
At least it wasn't like the Alpha Flight issue in the Blizzard where it was all white.
Right. No. I mean, there's lots of snow in this, but this picture. So, I mean, he's got all four. I don't know. It just and the way they were running, it's one of those kind of things like, oh, that doesn't look quite right. Like they like flying across the snow, but for whatever reason, it works. It works when Mike Allred does it. So, like I said, there's some good lines in it, and just some kind of funny stuff and whatnot. This great page as they're trying to shoot him as he's flipping around. So you follow the dialogue as you follow him flipping around. I don't know. There's just some fun stuff in it.
Yeah.
But see, they know him from a comic book. When they see him, they're like, "Oh yeah, there he is," and he's wrestling a sword. This swordfish. Yeah, he's one of us. He's the Red Bee. He fights a swordfish and keeps a trained pet bee named Michael inside of a pouch and everything. So we're like, so the army guys, the tough army guys, are like, okay, Bee Man and Bee Boy, and what kind of weirdo carries a bee with him? I don't know. It was funny.
So now I'm trying to remember, because the Losers, it was kind of like Sergeant Rock. I think they used to meet up every so often.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So Sergeant... it's not like the group that's used later on in the independent book, the Losers.
No.
They made the movie of. All right.
Right. No. This is the old. Yeah.
I think I got them in a couple.
Yeah.
Old Sergeant Rocks I got. So.
Yeah. Well, they've all got goofy, ridiculous nicknames to go along. And they team up with the Bazooka Boys. Two guys that carry bazookas, so they're the Bazooka Boys. That kind of thing. That kind of thing. But fun. Okay. Hey, what'd you read?
I picked up Martian Manhunter and Marvin the Martian.
Oh, how was that? I kind of thinking I needed to go and buy it because I didn't actually order it. I pulled back on most of those, but they all sounded fun.
Yeah, I mean, I looked through them. This is a $4.99 book, so I was tentative. There was a couple I was looking at. I did decide on this one. It was the very first one starts off with it's I think Orlando, who's the writer. Steve Orlando and Frank J. Barbary are writers.
So it has multiple stories in it?
2 stories, but
okay.
Barbary and Orlando both wrote this story, though, the first one. So I don't know if it needed 2 people. It didn't feel like 2 people. It was penciled by Aaron Lopresti and inked by Jerome Moore. Hi-Fi was doing color. Mm-hmm. The first one is Marvin. Sorry, I'm going to get confused a lot. Martian Manhunter, John Johns, picks up a distress call. He makes a portal so that somebody can come through. And, of course, we see our wonderful man from Mars, Marvin the Martian, comes through. And, it was interesting. It was kind of this, nice style. So it's, they still made him somewhat cartoonish, but I mean, obviously he's different. He touches minds with them a little bit, realizes he's from Mars too, and and as soon as he says that, I'm this is Earth, and he's like, oh, Earth, I'll help you blow it up, and he's like, no, that's not what I brought you here for. He goes, I got your distress call. He goes, no, the distress is for whoever is on Earth, and I will come and help you with the distress. So he gets a spaceship, he adds water, boom, becomes an automatic spaceship. He flies off. He has the stick of uranium P-32 that John grabs from him and throws, and it hits a plane and blows up part of the plane. So John has to rescue the plane, and by the time he finds Marvin is now attacking Area 52, where people are doomsday weapons. Nice. And he has to mentally alter Marvin's brain to get him to stop, because nothing else will stop him. Mm-hmm. So that was once again, like I said, that didn't really need 2 writers. I don't understand why there was 2 writers for it. The second story is Stephen DeStefano as the writer. Oh, sorry. Oh, I see. There's a whole bunch. Actually, it must have been that they wrote both of these,
Hmm.
because the other stuff is all variant covers. Once we get to the second story, we are delighted to see that we get Looney Tune art. I mean,
All
just like
right.
you remember from the things. That's what kind of sold me on it. Um, Marvin is looking through his telescope. All of a sudden, boom! There's John. John gets, is trying to communicate with them, and he's like, it's nice. You get to see him transform into all the different people: the Bugs Bunny, the
Right. Right.
Buck Rogers in the
Buck
21st
Rogers.
century.
Yes.
It was great, but I mean, he's like, well, no, I want to destroy Earth, and John has to try and figure out how to stop him.
Mhm.
He researches. Marvin researches John and realizes chocolate cookies are his one weakness. So he gets a whole bunch of chocolate cookies, thinking that will stop him. Just drops a ton of them on him. Uh, when Marvin turns around, he sees there's this giant prize that says from the planet Earth, "Thank you, Marvin, for saving our planet." And he feels good, and he goes to go and protect Earth in his little spaceship and fly around. Well, the statue is actually John in one of his many disguises. So
Sure. Sure.
that was fun. I mean, it was just enjoyable. So uh, $5 enjoyable. It depends on your level of nostalgia. It
Sure.
was just enough for me. It was nice. There's two stories. Um, and like I said, it was cool to have DC art. It was cool to have Warner Brothers art.
Right.
So
Right.
I'm not going to tell anybody to run out and grab it, but if you see it on the dollar wall, pick it up.
Yeah. There you go. There you go. Cool. Loads of fun. Let's see. What do I talk about? Detective Comics. 958. We basically start a new arc that seems to be Azrael centric. Azrael is from kind of a religious, kind of like assassin doom cult, is where he's originally from. He's broke loose from the grip that the thrall that they had on him. But every time he wears the costume, of course, it is slowly working on him to make him back to being uber assassin kind of a thing. And not everybody 100% really understands that. I mean, so in this comic, Kate, Batwoman, she's our person, if you don't know that about the character, to learn that through, kind of thing, which is great. I like storytelling like that. For those of us who maybe don't know all that is to know about that character, this is the way to kind of get that background. She asked the questions that the audience would ask to give us that. So I appreciate that kind of storytelling to get us the information we need, instead of just purely being an info dump. Somebody from his past has shown up who's was part of that, and they're like, oh no, this is really bad stuff's happening, watch out, you kind of thing. And what shows up is basically the apex version of Azrael's suit, because Azrael's suit's got like an AI running in it, and this is like the apex version. Questionably whether or not there's even a person inside of it, and it is first and foremost hunting down all of the loose ends, all of the basically Azraels who, fallen by the wayside, because over the centuries and over the years, man has always been the failing of this assassin cult for God. Right. That man has always been the fault. And so they've gotten rid of man. And so they're going to go and take care of these guys first. And then of course they're going to wreak whatever their version of, holy whatever they can, kind of a thing. So this issue basically sets that up with this thing showing up. It's going to, wipe him out and wipe the rest of them out, as it's, so it'll be interesting to see exactly what plays into it. So we're going to focus on him for a while, I would guess. Still kind of really wish they would get to a Clayface focused kind of thing. I mean, he's in it all the time. He has some lines, but he really is underused as far as I'm concerned as a character. Of course, it's a big group. You can't focus on everybody, so you pick whoever you want to. I do kind of feel like we're going through the writer's list of favorite characters that he wants to play with.
All right.
But I mean, he's the person that's writing it, so clearly you write what you want to write, right? So, but yeah,
And
it's enjoyable.
I thought it built well. The issues with the Monster Man, where the crime syndicate. Oh gosh, the victim syndicate.
The victim syndicate, you're right.
Yeah,
Right.
when you find out about the one that parallels his character, that was really pretty good on those stories.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah. It's an enjoyable book. I really do enjoy it. It's
And I'm glad that you mentioned it, because I saw him in, I think it was it must have been the Victim Syndicate,
Mhm.
because all of a sudden he pulls out his sword and he's defending the area with the patients, and I'm like, did I miss the issue where he was introduced or something? And like, no, that was his introduction.
Yeah, he was kind of always. I mean, he wasn't part of the original, group that Batman had. Batwoman and Batman gathered up for their little mission, but it's kind of their kind of goal is to anybody who's a novice superhero in the Gotham area. They are trying to kind of pull them in under their wings, so I think as much as anything, so they can control them and watch them as teach them anything, right? So the other thing about this issue is. Bruce is at the Iceberg, the new Iceberg Penguins casino out on the thing. He's there as Bruce, begrudgingly. He needs a favor from somebody that's there. He's going to meet somebody there and whatnot. He's got to go like this because that's where they're going to be at. That's where they're performing. I'm thinking perform. I'm like, okay, I don't know, whatever, kind of thing. And of course, this Apex thing shows up there because one of the monks from Azrael's old place is there, kind of like living his last days, knowing that this thing is hunting him down. So of course, he's gambling like crazy. I mean, he's spending huge money, just basically kind of partying it up. Penguin is offered to provide him with other services too, like somebody to, make the night go by a little more interesting. He gets one of each kind of a thing. So, I mean, he's going to experience it all, kind of a thing, knowing full well that this thing's coming to get him. And he, this happens to be where Bruce is at, and he's doing the gambling. This thing shows up, and as it's showing up, it's attacking. Of course, Bruce is stuck, not able to just, pull a Batman because, he's there as Bruce Wayne. And the person who's performing is Santana. She's who's performing there.
Oh.
It didn't occur to me. So I'm kind of excited about that. I'm curious for a couple things. I mean, so what does Batman need here? Because he's clearly, great picture of her, by the way. He's clearly not maybe on the greatest terms with her. It's like he can just call her up whenever and say, hey, whatever. So he's had to agree to meet her here because she's performing, kind of a thing. So I'm curious to see where the relationship is at, because of course this is, Rebirth, how are they going to treat this relationship? In the past, they've been treated as people who knew each other when they were kids, when their parents were still alive in some versions of the character. So I'm curious to see how, what they're going to do with her, how they're going to use it, and that sort of stuff. So.
And in Identity Crisis, doesn't she talk with somebody about dating, that she used to date Batman, or she had a relationship
with Bruce Wayne? Yeah.
So that's what I remember, is that there was that discussion, because they were like, Batman is Batman.
Right. And in Batman Streets of Gotham, there's, when Paul Dini was writing it, he spent a lot of time working on just the kind of the history and the life of Gotham and stuff like that. And they were, their parents were sometimes friends, in that the circus and the gypsies would come through. And at the time, Zatanna's family was kind of part of that, and so they had some socialization with each other then as kids, so they kind of knew who each other were then, and then just kind of they built kind of a history of them kind of running into each other up until their adulthood, and of course they're both superheroes kind of thing. So,
well, Batman knew everybody in his youth, so
I guess
the old Snyder theory.
Pays to be a Wayne, I guess, or something like that. Yeah. Alrighty, what else you got?
Besides Old Man Logan, best book I think this week was number 11, Red Hood and the Outlaws. And I mean, while this was mainly an Artemis story, it still continues to talk about with Red Hood, and it was good to see that story kind of end with him, because I didn't know how much more I wanted to dig into that.
Right.
But it was good. I mean, it was definitely excellently written. I just still continues to be a very strong book, and I was hoping, of course, that the next issue or next arc would involve, Big Blue here. It is in a very interesting way, and so it'll be interesting to see how we go to that one. So.
Yeah, right. How that all focuses for sure. I really like it. I mean, this Artemis story pretty well ends. Her deciding that she's not going to stick around and keep doing this. She kind of
she wasn't going to be the Shemshira, but
right.
It's like, so are you leaving the bow? Well, no. Right. Why would I do that?
Right. Exactly. But I mean, she closes up some old history with herself and whatnot, and in some ways she's bonded even better with the guys in the fact that they've stuck with her through kind of through this thing and whatnot. So I think that's earned them a little more respect as far as she's concerned. Right now, she seems like she's going to tag along with them, even though they don't really have a purpose now, really. So it'll be curious to see what their purpose is going to be. Of course, then their purpose gets kind of made for them because Bizarro takes a pretty big hit by the end of this. But
it was an excellent battle too. I methat was the thing too. I thought it was really well written battle.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. And fun. There's I love the whole where Red Hood is talking to Bizarro. It's like, you remember I told you weren't supposed to hit things too hard?
Yeah.
Right now, forget I said that, because of course they're fighting against a Wonder Woman analog. Somebody that's basically equivalent of Wonder Woman. And you gotta really put it to her. So
that picture of her crying, I thought was, at that point, that was so well done.
Yeah, and Dexter Soy is a great superhero artist. I just think he does a really good job of portraying the stuff that needs to be portrayed. He does a really good 4-color. I like his panel work, his close-up shots, and all that kind of stuff. So I really enjoy it, art-wise and stuff too. So the one moment that seemed kind of odd to me, and maybe she's just. There were two things actually. It's all towards the end, the kind of the aftermath, the hours later prologue thing. So are we supposed to read something into this? First off, this where she almost looks like where she's laying her head on his shoulder seems a little soft for her. Because Artemis she's way more macho is probably not the word I want to use, but way more macho than like Wonder Woman is, for instance, right? She is all brawn and toughness and whatnot. So I get, so this is like a soft moment because of course she has just basically killed off her friend a second time. But this scene,
almost kissed. Yeah.
Those faces are close enough that noses touch. Yeah, so is that actually supposed to be a moment? Are we supposed to take that as being almost that moment? And of course it gets interrupted because Bizarro has to always wreck everything.
Yeah. I was trying to remember if there was any incidents of that. She really kind of swatted him away the first couple of issues where he's, I'm Rico Suave. Maybe you didn't read my other comic, but I always get the girl. And
and she's like, whatever, right?
Yeah. So hopefully maybe not. I know you guys are always waiting for the Lobdell failure, and maybe that's going to be the relationship he tries to wedge into this book.
Well, I'm not against that if that's going to be a thing. at least it's not going to be a weird love triangle, I don't think, because Bizarro is a different mix than like Arsenal was, for instance. So it's not going to be that, kind of a thing. And if they want to, I don't know that I care if they go there, as long as it makes some sort of sense, kind of thing.
Well, and I guess I thought that's what made it so funny is the "I'm so suave" and her saying,
Right.
"No, you're not really that impressive."
Right. Right. I mean, granted, she just went through an emotional thing or whatever, but I don't know that going through that emotional thing suddenly makes you so vulnerable that you're going to suddenly think a guy who wears, a metal bucket on his head that's painted red suddenly is a hot guy. I don't know. That was the only thing about the book that's kind of like, well, that's either maybe a good thing or that could be potentially the bad thing. That could be really the thing that causes the problem. I'm reading the comments, and Ryan Silone says, although a love triangle between them would be hilarious, and you are right, that would be really awkward, and oh yeah, with Bizarro, oh yeah, that would be that yes, there could be some definite laughs in that. That's for sure. Yeah. That is for sure. Yeah, no doubt.
That was my last DC. What do you got?
Okay, I got a couple more here. Wonder Woman issue number 24. Second to the last issue of Rutka's writing. Anyway, issue 25 is the last issue that Rutka is on. This is the last issue of Wonder Woman that Blisk Everly, to the best of my knowledge, is doing the artwork on. And I love her artwork. I could talk about just that alone through most of the book. This is a very, very good issue in that we get basically opens up with Steve Trevor sitting by a campfire, clearly worried and waiting, by this tree that everybody disappeared through, that Wonder Woman disappeared through, Dr. Kale disappeared through, the faceless girl disappeared through, everybody disappeared through it. And he's like, oh, what's happening? Did they find Themyscira? What's going on? This rip opens up. The first person that comes through is Dr. Kale. And, Steve's like asking all these questions about Wonder Woman, and she's like, I don't care, because of course she's leaving her daughter behind. Her daughter can't leave. If her daughter leaves Themyscira, she goes back to being the faceless, soulless hunk of nothing kind of a thing. So she had to leave her behind. So she's real bitter. Wonder Woman shows up. She's, kind of a wreck too, because she's never ready to go home. It's confirmed now. It's in this place that she can never go to. If she were to go there, it opens up a rip and also kind of releases Artemis. Artemis is kind of in this happy place right now where he doesn't have total influence over everything. But if she were to make that trip through, that reopens this thing up and he becomes Artemis the monster, as opposed to, just another god kind of trying to mind his own business kind of a thing. But lots of great storytelling in here, lots of emotional stuff about just kind of the ending of this, where they can't find Barbara Ann anywhere. She's now the Cheetah. Can't find her anywhere. They don't really look very hard for her because Steve is more worried about Wonder Woman. I mean, it's clearly where his emotions are, is let's get Diana home. Let's make sure she's okay. They do go home. And Candy, of course, is pissed off because Etta had a relationship with Barbara Ann, and they just left Barbara Ann out there somewhere. She was forced to get turned into Cheetah. Steve's kind of like, oh, you're not looking at the whole picture. You're too emotionally involved. What about Wonder Woman? And I'm thinking, dude, you're just as emotionally involved, kind of a thing. And Wonder Woman's kind of like, you're right. We should have never left her. I got to go find her. I'm going to go track her down. She takes off to go track her down. Meanwhile, after they'd left this area where this tree was at and whatnot, Barbara Ann is there. Cheetah is there at the tree, yelling and screaming led through that. Of all the horrible stuff that's happened to her, of all the stuff she's gone through, she is at least owed getting to see Themyscira. And she yells and screams out. This little rip opens up. She tries to stick her hand through. It kicks her back out, and then it disappears. The tree just kind of, and it's gone. There's no portal. There's no nothing now. And she is now crazy pissed. It's like, fine. These gods want to play games. I'll show them a god. I'll show them a new god. And she goes on a rage. So now you've got this version of Catwoman is very feral. She's got power. She's every bit as fast as Wonder Woman is, basic kind of thing. And she's just going to wreak revenge. She shows up at Dr. Kale's place. She's trying to kill Dr. Kale. Wonder Woman shows up and is trying to protect Dr. Kale. And Wonder Woman's like, you got to, chill Barbara Ann. You know, this is the only woman who can bring you back. She has the lab and the right things to give you to turn you back. And right now the FBI and the government is taking over all of Dr. Cale's labs. You know, probably if she gets caught, she's going to jail for all kinds of espionage and stuff. And she does like, you don't get it. I want her dead, so there is no way I can come back, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So they get into a big brawl. You know, things happen. Cheetah loses for right now, but we'll see what happens long term. But really good issue though. Lots of emotion. They do a really good job of portraying everybody's angst, because nobody comes out of this except for Steve. Nobody comes out of this clean. Everybody lost somebody. Either Wonder Woman lost never being able to go home for sure. You know, she has her memory. She kind of knows what happened. She knows she can't go back. You know, the bad guy, Dr. Cale, she lost her, you know, her daughter. Etta loses, you know, Barbara Ann. Steve still got Wonder Woman. So hey, and there's some smooching in this issue and whatnot. But yeah, so it'll be curious to see what comes out of this. What's next? She doesn't have her rope. She lost her rope in the area between Themyscira and I think either that or the witch that opened up the portal has it. But they make the comment she doesn't have the rope anymore, so I'll be curious to see. But there's this great, I mean, this is great big big fight as the Cheetah is tearing up Dr. Cale, and Wonder Woman basically has to choke her into submission. I mean, she puts her in a sleeper hold and, you know, MMA style rear naked guillotine and, you know, knocks her out. But no, it was really good. It was really good. I really liked it. I mean, yeah, here's her conflict with the tree. You know, she's yelling at the tree. She sticks her hand in, and it rejects her. I mean, severely rejects her. And then she gets really angry. And I love this shot of the eyes and whatnot. This kind of, I like this version of the Cheetah where she's not just the beautiful woman who looks like she's got some cheetah spots on her. You know, she's not wearing the hilarious you know, Archie comics version of the kitty suit. You know, she's this kind of half cat, half person. It's an interesting mix of the two. So,
well, and Juan Ferrero was talking about that when he was doing the Suicide Squad with her, because he says nobody was doing the cheetah. You know, the cheetahs have that long teary eye, and he said that's the thing he pushed for, and I think everybody's adopted it now. So,
because it makes sense. It's a really interesting feature on her face, especially with the way the character is right now, because she's as much as a victim as she is anything. I mean, she's kind of forced into, you know, she was freed of all this stuff. You know, the very beginning of the book, she's all, you know, messed up, twisted up, eating people. And this version of Cheetah, she eats people. It is an insatiable hunger that she cannot fight off. I mean, she can kind of eat other stuff, but it just does not work. So, yeah, I mean, you know, she was cured of it all. You know, minding her own business, gets lured in with Wonder Woman to learn all this stuff and whatnot, and then gets herself in a position where she has to go back to being the Cheetah to save Etta, basically, and Diana at the time. And so she ends up becoming back the Cheetah to try and help them find where Themyscira was. And then she gets screwed at the end of the thing, basically. She gets nothing out of it other than she's stuck, kind of, for now anyway, being this really a monster. So yeah, I like all that. Well, I like all that kind of storytelling stuff. Okay, I enjoy it quite a bit. So curious to see how the next issue, how does that play in? Because this issue ends with Wonder Woman flying off with the Cheetah. So like I said, the last issue with Rucka's run on it, what's that like? I'll be curious to see. I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it quite a bit. We'll see what happens when new people take over and what they do with it, what kind of voice they want to give to it and stuff. So
movie-wise, I would really hope that might be the next villain is Cheetah, because I think that is a good piece of her mythos that they should put her in there.
Yeah, oh, definitely. If not right away, fairly soon, I would think. You know, like I said, I'm curious to see what the next issue is like, if they do some sort of resolution of some sort or whatever. And like I said, I'm really curious to see what the next creators do on the book. I'm suspect that it's going to go back more to being a traditional, straightforward superhero book, I would guess, but I don't know. We'll see. And then I got two Superman-ish books, Superwoman and the New Superman. New Superman has a new artist in the book. New artist is okay. in comparison to the old artist. This is a tan. I think it's not Phil Tan. It's a different tan. Phil Tan does the cover, which I'm not that big of a Phil Tan fan. I mean, I've been at cons where he is doing like huge pinups, and they're super gorgeous, well inked, awesome stuff. For whatever reason, that he doesn't do that in comic books, though. It's much more straightforward. He kind of a
I can get that kind of money for it.
yeah. Billy Tan is who does the interiors. They're okay. They're not bad. They're not that great. I really like the old artist that was on the book, which I can't think of what the name is of it. So this issue was odd in some ways in that we have a revelation. We get lots of like storytelling of, I don't know if it's real Chinese lore or not, but at any rate, the Chinese Wonder Woman is actually there's all these different spheres of life, the grand wheel, as it were, and there's all these different, the realm that humans live in, the realms that demons live in, the realms that gods live in, the realms that demigods live in. We find out that Wonder Woman of China is actually a demigod, and she falls in love. Ancient times is like an ancient parable. It's been around for forever. She was called Green Snake. She falls in love with a human boy. She makes herself human to pursue that love with that boy and get married and all that kind of stuff. Another demigod, White Snake, I believe, not the band. But he is in love with Green Snake, doesn't like the stinky humans or their realm or that kind of stuff. Love triangle, chaos ensues, all kinds of stuff, whatever. We find out that Wonder Woman was Green Snake. So this battle goes on in this issue. They're fighting this big giant thing. It looks kind of like a Godzilla. That's White Snake in his latest form or whatever. And Wonder Woman gets cut in half, literally gets cut in half. And you think, oh, God, she's dead. But no, when she falls in half, then pops out the bottom half of her body as a snake. So she's a half serpent, half person, and she gets all kinds of wrecked. They take her back to the base because she's all messed up and stuff. But most of the comic is just telling this long story. It's very blah 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 blah. It wasn't interestingly told. This kind of ancient legend kind of thing. To me, it wasn't that interesting kind of thing. The only part that's interesting is, of course, they released this other Superman. He's like Superman Prime, not Superboy Prime, but Superman Prime. Yeah. He was the original Chinese Superman, except they can't really control him, and he's kind of a crazy loose cannon. So I mean, his version of doing things, he's very straightforward. So he's not Bizarro-like, but he's in some ways he is. It's like, oh, go save, stop that monster. And so the reason he's supposed to go stop the giant Godzilla monster is so it doesn't stomp on the city. Well, he flies in, and to stop the monster, he picks the monster up and throws the monster into the city to beat the monster up. So, he doesn't have that, he doesn't have the wherewithal. He gets influenced by this mystery character, and he shows up at the base. He attacks the base, attacks the Wonder Woman person, starts attacking everybody. And at the very end of it, we find out that the woman that's in charge of creating all these superheroes and stuff, as she's falling to her death, is claiming to be our main character's mom, who supposedly died in an airplane crash. He has come to confront her, saying, you trapped my dad in this prison. You killed my mom. How dare you do all that stuff? And she's like, I didn't kill her. I am her. She's falling off to who knows what. So it's okay, but probably the weakest issue I've written. I've really enjoyed it up to this point. I'm hoping that the art change isn't part of that problem. But this issue felt different anyway, with the whole kind of blah 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 about the I don't know. It felt very ancient Chinese legend thing, and I just
is everybody putting their favorite White Snake lyrics in the comments right now?
They're not yet, right. So I don't know. Maybe they don't have any because I don't. So
here I go again on my own.
Oh yeah, I know.
Dancing on the hoods of cars,
Yes, I know lyrics. I didn't say they were my favorite though. See, that's the difference.
Travis, Butt Rock was my.
Oh yeah, Right on.
Oh.
So Ryan was asking, is Lex Luthor still trying to be Superman or whatever he's doing? Yes, he is. He is still Superman of Metropolis.
Which would be in your Wonder Woman book? Is that?
No, the latest book that he was in that I've been reading was Super Sons.
All right.
He was in that, still flying around, and when Damian and John broke into Lex Luthor Tower to steal some stuff out of it. He was around for a while. So
I'm surprised he doesn't have his own book. I thought that's something somebody would have jumped on. So.
Yeah, wouldn't surprise me. That's for sure. So the other one I got is a Superwoman. With the new writer on the book, it's all right. I really like this book to start with. Really excited about it and stuff. So she's, I don't know. It feels very standard superhero in a lot of ways, and I don't really got anything against that other than I have a lot of books, and so I'm kind of looking for reasons to not get some books because I'm getting so many books. So this might be on that list. I mean, I really like the character. They're commenting in the comment that they really like her suit. I really like her costume too. She's got this really streamlined, her own version of a, I don't know, Iron Man suit. It focuses the power she doesn't have anymore. The suit still thinks that she has her original powers that faded after a while, after the whole, Superman Reborn stuff happened. But so it still creates her powers and stuff. She looks, like I said, she looks awesome with her powers running and whatnot. She looks really cool. And I like the character. It's just the story itself is not that exciting. She's hunting down a criminal who's broke out of the prison because, of course, when Lex Luthor's sister was taking over all of Metropolis and shutting everything down, the prison got shut down. All the bad guys ran away. So now they're slowly gathering all those bad guys back up again. Well, one of the guys that broke out is actually her fiance, boyfriend, whatever John Steele is, to her, whatever their relationship. I can't remember exactly what the relationship is. His brother was a bad guy in the place, and he is broken out. He is trying to seek revenge on this other guy. They're trying to intercept that, so she ends up getting into a fight with him because they're still trying to figure out this other guy stole his son, and it's convoluted. This career criminal supposedly steals his son. He turns into a monster to go after the guy who took his son. It's just kind of a mess as far as that goes. So I'm not really enjoying that aspect of it, I guess. So the writing isn't as strong as what it once was. So I'm on the fence. I'm really on the fence about the book. I just don't. I don't know. I'll probably order it again. But if I get to the end of this arc and it's still kind of where it's at right now, I will be done with it. I don't know how much legs the book actually has either. I don't know, how many people are still with the book. Jimmy, go ahead.
How far do the bundles carry you usually?
The bundles are still going. The bundles are still going. I quit getting the bundles months and months ago. The amount of books I was interested versus that I wasn't, because the books were spread out enough. Unfortunately, I really would wish I could get all the books I want all in one bundle. Then I'd be really happy. But yeah, I was breaking about even, and I started thinking, you know what, I don't need these books just to take up space that I'm not interested in. So I started cropping back. Now I'm actually saving money, not getting the bundles, because there's enough books in there I'm really not interested in. The Lantern books, the Titan book, the Teen Titan book. There's enough of those books that I'm not interested in that the bundle deal for me isn't that much of a deal anymore. So,
right.
Yeah. But yeah, Discount Comic Book Service is still running those bundles. You can still get those bundles at 50% off. Of course, all those books, all these monthly books, all took that dollar bump up in price.
Yeah.
Giving me the wonderful digital code that I have to badmouth every month and say I don't use, so I don't really care for. So, but is it is. So those Superman books, like I said, I like New Superman. I'll hang on to it for a while, even though I wasn't really excited by this issue. Superwoman is probably on a short leash as far as how much it's still actually entertaining me and whatnot. So I'll have a conversation with the other comic book reader in my house and see how much they care one way or the other, and that'll probably be the final decision on how long I hang on to that. So
your kids should be mowing yards this summer, though, right? So they can start paying a little more.
Yeah, it'd be nice, huh? Gosh, I barely give them to mow my lawn, little anybody else's for money.
All right.
Anyway, that's it for my DC books. DC news. Yeah. Right?
Not right off the top of my head, no. I think it's been pretty quiet. Oh, well, wait. Actually, to go back to Marvel, there was the leaked footage of Inhumans.
I guess I didn't look at that.
All right.
Did you watch it?
Yeah, it was a nice little shortcut. I mean, it looked like a very good Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. on TV cut, you know? So, I mean, it had all the characters, a little bit of fighting, and not too much more than that. I mean, It didn't make me any more interested in it. So
yeah, for me, if you're gonna do the Inhumans, put them in suits. Let them do the full on, whatever. Not.
And after the Flash, I mean, the Flash has gone full comic, or Legends of Tomorrow have gone full comic. I think you're there. I think you have to do these things now. I don't think you can go and make it look as realistic as possible. I think we're beyond that point.
Well, at least for that kind of show, right? You got Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It's kind of that's kind of that they're walking around the superhero world, right? I mean, that's kind of where they're at. The next thing, if it's going to be on the same channel and kind of in the same universe, why don't they take it to that full? Because clearly, if they're using them in TV, they're probably not interested in using them on the big screen. Anymore, right? Because wasn't there gonna be a movie at one point?
To the best of my knowledge, yeah, this was probably what would have been in the movies, and they decided, we could cheapen it, roll it out. They did show Lockjaw, so I mean,
oh really?
It teleported him and Black Bolt down, but yeah, I mean, without the mask and all that, it's just some guy in a Game of Thrones shirt running around. So
yeah, so I'm not. I mean, that's another one of those shows that if I see it, it's just going to be by pure accident. I'm flipping channels because I'm bored, and I come across that. I think can't imagine. So
yeah. So yeah, there's some Flash I'll get caught back up on, and the Arrow. Both of those have now gone Netflix. So
right. Cool.
I think of DC otherwise. So
yeah, the only other thing I can think of is that we're a couple weeks now out from the opening of Wonder Woman, and my understanding is it's still doing really well. That it has dropped off less than any other superhero movie as far as superhero movies go. You know, after that first initial bang, and then clearly the next week everybody isn't still going to it, so it's
and the Mummy tanked, so that helped it out too. So
yeah,
because everybody thought that was going to be a huge blockbuster, and the story was not there from what I heard from people. So
yeah, so that's cool.
Yeah,
I mean, I that's great. I think that's great for as a DC fan, that's great. As a Wonder Woman fan, to me, that's great. The social implications around that hopefully are going to be great too. So as far as female leads in an action-ish type of a thing, kind of stuff. So yeah, I don't know. I'm already excited for whatever Wonder Woman 2 is going to be. Even though they haven't even written anything yet, I'm ready. Yeah. I'm ready for it. So, alrighty. So we'll jump on to some independent books then.
Yep, sure.
Okay. I got a big wad. I'm not gonna talk them all.
Right. Go ahead and get started. I only have 2. So
right. Let's see. Let's talk. Gonna talk about this for a second. Grass Kings. Not a very exciting cover. But I'm still really enjoying the story. It's Boom Studio, Matt Kent, Tyler Jenkins. This is issue number 4. One of the things I really want to talk about, because every time this book comes out, I'm always stunned by this. So here's the book. I got another thing. I don't know. Can you hear that?
Yes.
How hard that is? this cover is, I think, harder stock than the board that the comic is bagged in. I'm dead serious.
I can see
And
that. Yeah.
and it's the same price. It's $3.99. It's the same price as a lot of these other books, right? As many pages as any, I don't know, Marvel book. Do you know how hard it's going to be for me to put a fingerprint on this, Mike, in comparison to your Vision book?
Yes. Yeah.
Holy, how do they do that? How do they afford to do this? Who's taking the cut and pay for them to do this? Or how much are all the comic books, not just Marvel, how much are all the other comic books ripping us off by not giving us this kind of a stock?
Right. Yeah. That's the better question.
I would love to know how that works. You know, who made this decision? Because the rest of Boom's books aren't like this. Who made this decision? And you know, who's taking the cut and the pay to do it? So really curious about that. Anyway, besides construction of the book, still really interesting story. We start to get a little more conversation between the mystery girl that's shown up coming out of the lake and the people of the grasslands. You know, kind of a thing. You know, we find out that she's married to the damn sheriff that's on the other side of the lake that hates the Grass King people. That sheriff shows up to kind of threaten them, and they're like, "No, it's not happening." You know, kind of thing. You're not just waltzing in here and you don't help us, we're not helping you. And then we get this kind of flashback to back when the Grass King's daughter disappeared, supposedly maybe drowned or whatever. And then there were some murders on the Grass King's place, and they had the sheriff come over to look at it and whatnot. And at this time, the current sheriff, he was like a deputy, and his dad was the sheriff. So this is kind of like the sheriff running the family kind of thing. And they aren't interested in really helping them because they are kind of like their own little place, and they're standoffish and whatnot. Like, we don't got time, even though clearly the you know, there's potentially a serial killer running around and stuff. We also see that back in the past, our Grass King guy, he snuck over to the town, broke into the police station, couldn't find any evidence at all that they were gathering, but he did go into the deputy's office and pulled out, he's got like a notebook in there, and he's basically writing about how he's really jealous and kind of almost having a thoughtful love affair with this freewheeling guy, this free spirit that can just take lives, what that would be like to have that kind of power and stuff. So you're kind of thinking, ooh, this guy who's the sheriff now is, you know, potentially a really creepy and scary guy. Get back to the current time, you know, the sheriff is shown up and is threatening them. They basically, you know, kick him away, and he goes, "I'm coming back," and come back lots of people. And then the rest of the comic is kind of the sheriff of the grasslands and the king of the grasslands going around to all the different people there saying, "Hey, you know, you better be ready, you know, get your guns," we're, you know, kind of thing. Well, some of the people, it's like, oh, well, you know, maybe nothing will come of it, depending on kind of who they are. You know, some of the people are really militant, and those people are like, yeah, you know, go get the big guns kind of thing. And others, it's like, yeah, you know, kind of thing. But there's going to be a big giant shootout, because at the end of this, there's like a whole passel of police cars coming over the ridge, you know, coming to the grasslands. So who knows exactly what's going to happen. They're supposedly not going to fire the first shot. But as soon as somebody fires the first shot, they've got all these snipers all over the place of the grassland, and they're just going to start plugging people. So I don't know. It'll be curious to see how that all plays out. But enjoyable story. Like I said, still just amazed with the production value of the book is just, you know, beyond the pale kind of a thing. It's just mind blowing that it would be that good. The other book I'll talk about here, Helena Crass. This is issue 4. This is the final issue of this kind of goofy, you know, coffee's illegal now, comic book where aliens have come to Earth. You know, so there's like a mix of aliens and humans. So you get all kinds of weird, you know, basically the artist gets to draw whatever random stuff they want to, and you don't have to question it because, well, it's sometime in the weird future, you know, kind of a thing. There's some great Mad Max, you know, car chase kind of stuff in here where people get shot up and squashed and whatnot. And Helena tricks the two big evil rival gangs, these two guys, into fighting each other, and they kind of wipe each other out. And she kind of, you know, rides off into the sunset, having saved her old training partner, who is the guy that makes her coffee. So yay, no coffee's hurt in this issue of the comic, and all things kind of end up being fine at the end of it. Just a fun 4-issue, you know, kind of a romp with this kind of, you know, crazy I'm jealous they can make this comic, because it feels like half of us could probably. I don't mean this as an insult, but like half of us could kind of draw this stuff, because it's not like it's complex, or it's drawn in a way that, oh, these people look really real. I mean, it's, no, it's not, but it's still great storytelling. It does a great job of conveying the story. It's a great thing about comic book art. There's so many different ways comic book art can work, and different levels and styles and techniques, and it still be sequential art, and it still really work. And this issue is just big and exciting. There's the two bad guys fighting each other, knowing full well they've been tricked. They're like chopping at each other, like, oh, Helen Crash, we should be beating her up because she tricked us in this. And the other guy's like, yeah, you're right. I still want to kill you though. And they, so it ends with them. They're still going at it while, like I said, she literally rides off into the sunset. Yeah, there they are. They're stabbing each other, towards the end of the book and whatnot. But I just really liked it. It was fun 4 issues, kind of thing. If they ever put out more, I'll probably get it, because it's just kind of a cool, different thing. So.
As somebody used to read, of course, the big 2, and you get used to the house style.
Mm-hmm.
It is tough to get into independent comics when you see that, because to a certain degree, you've been bred and directed to a certain style, and it's like, this is what comic books is. Everything else is different, and you don't like different. And it is tough to break through that barrier. And I mean, we're starting to see the big 2 branching out a little bit more, but your Avengers and your Batman are never going to be that style.
Oh, I mean, not every once in a while, in very, very small doses. Like, you'll occasionally get that Ben Templesmith issue where he gets to draw, Batman all weird looking with the goofy, goofy ears and stuff. But yeah, you're right. I mean, this is what we all accept as comic book art. I mean, that's the standard. Everybody's wearing skin tight clothes, and everybody's body perfect, and nice shiny muscles and whatnot. And then you get this version of an action hero where she's goofy, weird hips, and like I said, it looks like something that when I was 13, I would have cranked out with a ballpoint pen on the back of a folder at school when I was bored. But it works. It works, kind of a thing. So yeah, for sure. Let me talk about another one before. Let's see. I'm going to talk about Black Clouds. This is issue number 3. Issue number 2, I wasn't super excited about. It felt like it got sidetracked with this, telling us way too much information about this politician and this politician's son. And it had, the resemblance of, them all wearing the red caps, the Donald Trump-esque-ness to it and whatnot. And whereas I appreciate that in some ways, I'm tired of that in other ways. And it just didn't feel like it really had much weight on the story. It didn't really feel like it was very important. This issue is largely our main character, Zelda. She's trying to get back to like the dream world that she's in. She kind of has to drown herself to kind of get herself there, it seems like, because there's no normal doors for her to go through anymore. Her few connections won't help her anymore, because clearly she's got some history in this dream world. So she goes back to this dream world. She's kind of a mess. She has to get to the dream world. She has to go through a hole in her own personal story. So in this dream world that she's in, that these other people are in, it's like your story has weight, and you can influence it in some ways or another, more so than what it seems like us in our normal lives, even though technically I, Travis, am living my own story, right? In this, they have more influence immediately over their story. Well, so she finds a hole in her story to get into the realm, and that means she has to kind of go backdoor into her past, which she clearly hates. She's she's kind of there as a shadow as the stuff is happening around her. So it's kind of a la Ebenezer Scrooge and the Ghost of Christmas Past, where he sees it happening. He knows it's that he should be changing stuff, but of course he can't because he has no influence over it. So we get to see her history of, she's part of this kind of uprising. There's the old power, the old guys are that are down below, quote unquote, is what they call them, are controlling everything. We want to be the new voice or whatever. But everybody's just kind of just happy to leave the status quo. Well, she gets involved with a guy named Frank, who, whereas she does lots of talking, she's somebody who wants to talk about great change and stuff like that. Frank wants to take it to the next level. He does actions to take anarchy and revolt to the next level. And somehow I get the impression he convinces her to dress up in this Nightleaf stuff and go and kill one of the powers that be. There's this whole kind of story about at the very beginning of the first issue, this giant monster shows up and they have to fight this giant monster. And it seems really out of place. Well, now it's not so much out of place because we get this kind of backstory of, well, this monster, why is it there? Why was it created? Because people need to see these horrible things being taken down, gives us hope to keep moving forward and whatnot. So she shows up, she's all cool looking. She's got this wicked, I don't know, laser lightsaber-y kind of thing in her thing. And you think she's going to be the one that's fighting the monster. You know, she steps up to fight this monster after she's been, after she's been all, amped up, right? Here's our giant monsters. And there she is. She puts on her cool helmet, whips out her cool, like, sword lightning bolt thing to go charge in it. And we're getting this, awesome scene of her fighting these monsters. And she chucks this lightning bolt, not at the monsters. She actually kills the dude that created the monsters. And in the process of killing him, and we get back, this panel leads directly back to issue 1. The very beginning, this guy is telling the story as he's drawing it on the cave wall and telling this oral history. We're like, why? What's that got to do with this? And here she's all sad because she's killed him. And we find out that killing him, he had a seat at this like council, and all these other entities are around here, and they must control this kind of dreamland that they all live in. So the chair is vacated. She runs in a panic once she realizes, uh-oh, maybe I didn't want to do this. And so they exile her as she's running away, and then all kinds of crazy stuff. Then she finally gets back to the real, back to the regular time. She wakes up, and the lizard guy that runs the bar is all pissed at her yet again. You keep going to sleep and all this crazy stuff happens. So she's got all this guilt about what she did in the past, that like maybe she thought that revolt was a great thing, but once they actually did it, then it caused such havoc and such chaos that it really wasn't the smart thing to do. And she kind of feels betrayed. And she also feels guilty because she ran, and she didn't just run away from that scene. She literally ran out of the reality. So she's kind of feels guilty because she abandoned all these people that were kind of believing in and all the stuff that she was saying. So that she's abandoned them all. She finds old Todd. Todd has gotten giant. He is massive. That is him dangling a train car that he's about ready to eat. Todd is the politician's kid that she accidentally left behind. Well, he's gotten completely out of control. So now they're going to have to deal with Todd, giant Todd, and her guilt and whatnot. So whereas issue 2, I was kind of like, oh boy, I don't know. I like the art, but I'm not sure about the story. This issue I really enjoyed it. It really got really interesting. The way they went and told us the background of some of this stuff, and gave us a little more reason to be invested in the main character Zelda and whatnot. So yeah, I'm enjoying it now. So cool stuff. Okay, Mike, what do you got?
The thing that started my entire pull list. This is number 29 of Manifest Destiny. It's definitely been a very interesting book. Last we left, the camp was covered in a fog that was hallucinatory. So they're all fighting each other, seeing each other as an enemy or as a monster that they've already encountered. Lewis, though, has been eating some kind of herb, and he figures out that stopped him from being affected. And so they start burning all these herbs, and now they're trying to get people to breathe in the herb smoke. And little by little, people are starting to figure it out, and they're starting to come to. And there is some other monster creature that's out there that they have to kind of fight and deal with. And it's been interesting to see as it changes and progresses, as people start getting better and better. They realize, it is just some kind of fog. They've really screwed themselves up. They have misinterpreted everything, but they can't find Clark. And they realize that Clark is after Sacagawea, Clark has been fighting Indian tribes his entire life,
Mhm.
and they're like, this is bad. And they go racing after. They finally find him. He's got blood on him, and they finally find Sacagawea, and she is ready to give birth, and it is way too early.
Oh
So
no.
that's where we're left. And of course, they're in my neck of the woods, and they're supposed to be hunkering down for the winter, but they've also set one of their major cabins on fire, and the fort is half destroyed. And so it'll be interesting to see how they recover from all of this.
Mhm.
But
Cool.
it's in trade. I recommend it. It's definitely been a good series to me. So
I need to look back and see where I stopped reading it at and start getting it from trades there just to see. Even though I really want to see that guy get killed off.
yeah, I got to imagine it's the payoff in the end.
Yeah.
They haven't been pushing.
Issue 63. They finally make it to the West Coast, and somebody runs him through in Astoria, huh?
Yeah, I'm guessing so. I'm guessing that's how it's going to be. They really downplayed him though from before, because I mean they built him up where you were actually hating him so much.
Yeah, he was
you couldn't
skeezy.
keep on the book, and they've played it back. I think they understood. They're like, oh, too many people are cheering for this guy to die, and die in a hurry. So they're toning it down.
Die in a painful way, not just die in a very painful way, kind of thing.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah, cool. And no sign of it ending clearly, because they're only halfway across the United States. So
yeah, they're right through the Iowa, South Dakota border area right now too. So, yeah.
And I'm assuming that even if they make it clear to the West Coast, they have to come back and deal with whatever they dealt with on whatever havoc they wreaked on the way over.
Yes.
They're gonna have to answer to on the way back, I would guess. So
yes, yeah.
So there's lots of stories still to tell. Let's see. I'm gonna talk about another new book. Winnebago Graveyard. As Travis starts to ponder, I'm getting way too many horror books. There are a lot of horror books coming out. For a while, I was thinking, man, there's all these sci-fi books coming out. It's crazy. Now it just feels like there's a lot of horror books coming out, and I keep getting them. I don't know necessarily why, but I do. I'm not into horror, hack and slash, Jason, Friday the 13th, Halloween, that kind of horror. I'm not really into. Supernatural stuff I really dig. And that's why I like the Hellboy stuff. I like that kind of, that end of the quote unquote horror spectrum and whatnot. This one, the horror, this is really kind of a, I don't know, mid-70s-esque kind of traveling horror where you're driving along on the family vacation and you stop at the odd carnival or whatever, and then really twisted stuff suddenly happens up. The hills have eyes, that sort of a, you stop at the hotel and in the middle of the night, the witches break in and drag you off to do a human sacrifice on you. That sort of is the kind of horror that this book kind of is. Basically, we got a family. They're on a working vacation. They're driving to Winnebago. For people who don't know what Winnebago is, that's an RV. There's a boy at about 13 years of age. The dad is the stepdad. There's all that great conflict that comes along with being 13 years old. And we're expecting to spend the summer with your real dad, and suddenly you're stuck with your mom and the new stepdad, kind of a thing. They have their own amount of conflict. They stop at this weird carnival that looks like it hasn't been updated since about 56. Basically, they go through the carnival. It's really weird, really kind of strange, but nothing too horrible happens, other than they go back after the carnival to get back in their RV, and the RV's gone. They can't find it. They wander around and try to get rides home and whatnot. Secondary story that's going on in the middle of the night. These witches show up, and in robes and whatnot, show up to this hotel, drag this man and woman in their skivvies into a truck, drive them out into the middle of nowhere. They perform a blood sacrifice on the man. This guy, they cut his guts open. A man crawls out, another humanoid crawls out of his guts. Hey, he's arisen. And then, of course, he proceeds to kiss and then mutilate the woman that was drug along, kind of a thing. So, and this family is on foot, walking basically in the direction of where that all happened at. So who knows? I really like the art. The art is by an artist I'm not familiar with, a Allison Sampson. So, and colors by Stephanie Patro. So I really, like I said, I really like, let's see, let's get a not so gory or a not so naked looking one here. So here they are at the carnival, for instance. I like the style. It's a very kind of a fluid kind of a style. I like the coloring of it and stuff. So I might, there's the freak show there. So I might hang around for a few issues just because of the art, but it's not 100% my cup of tea as far as story goes. So I don't know. I got to order comics next week, so I'll have to make some sort of a decision. I love the concept art. Here's a piece of concept art that the artist drew after them just talking about the book might be about. Big old Ferris wheel there. Some guy with devil horns in the background. This weird looking demon thing here. All our cloaked cultist, there and stuff, and then our family kind of off over in the corner. So I don't know. This thing, the bonus of this. Go ahead, Mike.
I was just gonna say I really like the old TV show Carnival, so I might actually jump on this. This is kind of looking interesting.
And I mean, and then the bonus if you buy in the singles is you get this backup story that they talk about different horror genres and that sort of thing. This one is a what do I want to call it? It's basically talking about travel and some of the types of stories that were that were coming out in the mid 70s and early 80s, kind of a thing. Of course, there's which I think is kind of funny, but there's some sales pitches in here by other writers, which I don't know if this was sitting on the shelf. I don't know that I would pick it up and look at the back and go, oh, hey, this was written by Gail Simone, or this was by whatever kind of a thing. So I don't know as far as that goes, but yeah, I mean, Colin Bunn describes this as if Ray Bradbury went for a grindhouse thrills. This is the story you would get. So cool wraparound cover too. I mean, I can dig that, but yeah, I mean, like I said, it's not. I liked it. It's just not 100% my cup of tea. I'm curious to see what the next issue looks like. I will end up getting that. I'll probably order it again this month because I like the art and see to give it a little more room to see what it might become. Steve Niles is the writer. I'm hit and miss with him. He writes some stuff that I absolutely love, and he writes other stuff that to me just completely falls down. So I don't know which this is going to be.
So on your next family trip, if you do see a carnival or a skeezy motel, will you be stopping?
No. Mm-mm. No. I'm well educated from my youth watching all those horrible movies that there's just a lot of things that I just are clear markers for me. Do not do this. So, no. Let's see. Oh, we'll just keep with the horror. We'll keep with the horror theme for a little bit. Yeah. So, this is Regression, which to me, that logo is fancy but frustrating as hell to read that's Regression. Anyway, Colin Bunn, this is another horror book. Danny Luckert on art, Marie Andergart doing colors. So this is the gross book that had all the bugs and flies and worms crawling out of people's mouths and all over the place all the time. That does not let up one bit. Our main character is home after having slept this horrible nightmare. In the last issue, he went to regression therapy where they hypnotized him and he looked at his past and whatever, and had really bad visions, and then went to bed and had nightmares that he was this psycho killer killing people. Of course, he thinks those were dreams, but his the guy who did the hypnotism on him is now murdered. He's tied to his chair in his own kitchen with weird symbols carved into his chest, and he's horribly killed, eyes plucked out, all kinds of horrible stuff like that. Anyway, he's woke up, he's brushing his teeth, and he picks a big old locust out of his mouth. So if you're not into bugs and icky bugs, which I don't really care for bugs, so the comic is gross as far as that goes. So it masters that really well. If you're not into, yeah. So anyway, he's a head case because, of course, he's had all this horrible stuff. I can't show you. I'm not going to show you a lot of this stuff because it's so gory. But so he's like wigging out over that. He's waiting for his girlfriend to show up to have a conversation with her about, you got to tell me about this hypnotist guy. You got to tell me, because they won't tell him what happened while he was under. The hypnotist has said you need to like slowly remember it yourself, and that's what's gonna be good. He's arranged to meet his girlfriend at this diner because he wants to know. He does not care what that damn hypnotist says. You're gonna tell me what it is that I did. She won't budge on telling him because it might hurt his whatever, kind of stuff. So he's all frustrated. He goes to work. He falls asleep at work. While he's at work, he has this dream. Seems to be that he's back in like Jack the Ripper times in London. He meets this woman. The woman knows who he is. He seems to be himself. He's like, I don't know who you are. I think you've mistaken for somebody else. Gets involved in this great, what looks to be like a great orgy of some sort, which turns into some summoning. There's a half bug woman and lots of millipedes and spiders pouring out of people's mouths and lots of icky bug stuff if you're not into bug stuff. And his boss wakes him up, chews his ass. I'm not paying you for the hours you're sleeping. You better get in gear. And he snaps. He like has a different personality, and he threatens his boss. He's this, talks in a weird oldie times kind of a thing. So like maybe he's possessed by this other personality was. And of course, how do you relieve all that stress when you're all stressed out and your boss chews your ass off? You go to the stripper joint, because of course that's what makes perfect sense, right? So he goes to the stripper joint. He's still this other guy though. He's still got this other personality going on in him. He gets himself a stripper, hooks up with her in the bathroom. I don't have personal experience with the whole stripper thing and whatnot, but I'm assuming it's not so easy to just show up, give the lady a few dollars, and suddenly you're in a bathroom having a good time. Bugs flying everywhere. Who knows what's going to happen. At the end of it, the police have shown up to ask him questions because, of course, he's one of the last people that saw the hypnotist, and he's called the hypnotist's phone like a dozen times, and the hypnotist's phone has been saying a puddle of blood vibrating as he's been calling. So they want to talk to him. Who knows what's going to happen. I'm not going to keep getting this. It's actually pretty good, but not my cup of tea. I don't need to feel aggravated every time I read the thing with the bugs in it and stuff. So now that I'm afraid of bugs, I got enough of them out in my backyard that I have to deal with all the time. I don't need any more, kind of a thing. So as much as I like Cullen Bunn, the art's fine in it. It's just not my kind of horror thing. The whole possession, Jack the Ripper. Let's be cruel for the sheer sake of being cruel. I don't know. Not my thing.
Is there anybody in your house that reads comics that you don't read?
No.
Okay.
Well, the only exception to that is, I guess, New Gods, the Neil Gaiman. I'm not reading that anymore because I just didn't like it, and I'm still getting it because the disembodied voice is reading it.
Okay.
Because she's enjoying it. I wasn't, but no, I don't get comics that somebody else in the house does not read, and most people's comic book reading in my house are built off of my tastes. They read what I read. The stuff they don't want to read that I read, they just don't read, kind of thing.
Okay.
But I'm in the driver's seat. I control the comics in my house.
Yeah, and I knew most of that, but I didn't know if there was some book that somebody was reading that you're like, I'm just not reading it. Right.
My kids, not so much right now, but they have in the past read a healthy amount of manga that I don't read. I've read bits and pieces, but not much of what of what they read as far as that goes and stuff. My daughter reads like the Umbrella Academy. I have read that stuff, but they were gotten for her first, and I read them because she was getting them. Of course, she could be quite honest though. She was getting them more for the fact that they're written by Gerard Way is really the reason why, because the whole My Chemical Romance connection there. So that's more.
They're so good though. Oh, I love those.
She really likes them, and excited to hear that at some point there's supposed to be more, right? So that'll be cool. So yeah. Let's see. What a weirdo. Birthright issue 25 continues to be an excellent book. The art in it continues to be absolutely amazing. Breston and Lucas on art, just between the colors and the line work, the great cross hatching, and all the little details, old school art, as far as I'm concerned, but in a modern way. Continues to be a great book. Issue 25 is the end of another arc. We're left with some, big stuff happening in it. The mages have kind of gone to town on each other. The family does not trust Mikey anymore. They've pretty much all kind of seen the light that he's got this other thing in him, that he is basically working for the evil, lore that's from this other fantasy reality and whatnot. And so they're all kind of like, I want nothing to do with it. His girlfriend has her baby successfully in this issue. They won't let him anywhere near the baby because they don't, even his mom's like, no, Mikey, you're not getting anywhere near the kid until we know, she start talking truth to us and we know what's going on. One of Lore's head witches is here and she has been wreaking havoc. Lore's daughter creates this basically giant stone monster to try and take out the witch. Does not successful. She runs off somewhere. We don't know what happens to her. The witch steals Mikey's younger brother, who has magical talent himself. There's something even more significant about him than that the witch can see and no one else can see. She snatches him up and they disappear, and she's going to wreak havoc on our world now. But all kinds of craziness has happened in our world. It'll be really curious to see how they try and you cover it up or whatever. So what else
has Williamson written?
Williamson also writes Nailbiter. Williamson also writes The Flash. Williamson also wrote The Button. Now, of all those books, which of those am I reading? This is the only one I'm reading.
Yeah, okay.
I read Nailbiter for just a little bit and quit reading it. Maybe a mistake, because I know there are a lot of people who really, really like it, and it sounds like it got really good after I dropped the book, because I dropped the book around issue 4, I think, of Nailbiter. I'm just not a Flash fan, so that doesn't really captivate me well enough to you have to be doing something just amazing pants for me to stay on a Flash book for any period of time. And The Button had less to do with, I think, particularly his writing, just the whole setup of that whole silliness, whatnot. But I will say this also: the art is a huge factor in why I love it. Here's this double page spread. The Lore's daughter, who is a mage on Earth, wants nothing to do with Lore, wants to live her own life. She summons up this giant. She takes her entire castle, her underground keep, and makes it into this big giant thing. And there she is on top of it. Here's our little witch, this little speck down here. And here's the family way over here. Awesome double page spread and whatnot. I just, like I said, I just really, really like the, the art in this. Some skeletons to come and get them. It's got some great high fantasy ridiculousness to it. Mikey has got one of the best beards in comics, so you got to like it for that, if nothing else. But yeah, like I said, really, the art, like I said, holds me on the book quite a bit. I think there's gonna be a break now as we hit the next arc. Get that nice giant cover there. They're all ganging up on one of the mages. But yeah, like I said, it's a fun book. I'm happy to have stuck with the 25 issues. I don't stick with a lot of fantasy books, or even attempt to read them in the first place. But I really, like I said, really enjoyed this one quite a bit. But who knows? I don't know. Here's some more action shot as it she goes to pummel her with a big old fist. But yeah, no idea where it's going to go from here, because, like I said, they've snatched the brother, so they're gonna have to go after the brother. No one trusts Mikey anymore. Even his dad, who was like, I don't care what Mikey's done, he's the best. Even his dad's like, no, man, you're evil crazy pants now. You come here to actually wreck everything, not make anything better, kind of a thing. So who knows what's next, kind of a thing.
Well, and Mikey also fixed the whole idea, though, that Dad killed him. I mean, that was the whole thing too. I mean, I didn't embrace my son too if everybody thought I killed him and worse. So.
Right. So this is my evidence. My son's back. So this evidence that I'm not, that I'm not the evil parent that, that killed him, buried him in the woods, and then acts like somebody kidnapped him. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Well, and I really wish. I think I missed out on the first or second issue, so I wasn't getting it in singles, and then I'm grabbing it in trade now, but it was just one of those things that, I wish I would have been there. Because instead, I got Frost Giant Fury D&D. It's all right. I mean, it's Zub writing it. Diaz's art's been okay. you know, it's a $4 book, but I mean, I've enjoyed it. I loved it because I love the stories, because I love the game originally, Baldur's Gate.
Mhm.
I used to read all the Icewind Dale books, you know, and I played D&D, and it was really nice. And this gives me a little bit of a touch on it again. But I get this book every 3 months, every four. I mean, they are not
Wow.
getting this out consistently. So it is just okay. I remember John was laughing at me because I was showing the book, and he's like, I think he picked up one, and he's like, I didn't really care for it. I said, okay. And then he's like, that was months ago. You're only on number 3? I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah.
How do smaller publishing companies think they're gonna? I mean, if you're just picking that up off the shelf,
Yeah.
you're gonna forget about it, and you're gonna miss an
Yes.
issue because you just kind of forgot about it. I mean, I know you. I mean, I know comic book, like they rely on the pull, right, to ensure that the books are gonna, that they're getting their books sold and whatnot. But I don't know. That's just so much time between issues.
Well,
It
and I'm
seems
still just grabbing it off the wall too. I mean, and you
right.
know, I'm lucky enough that I have a store and it's not a grocery store. Because yeah, I don't know how some of those, you know, they sell it week to week and then they sell back or they throw away the comics. And
Yeah.
at least my shop keeps them for a while, so at least I can dig around and look for old comics.
Yeah. It's just, to me, it's just strange though. They have that kind of
Yeah.
a poor release that, yeah. Yeah, I mean the breaks between arcs, cool, but the
Yeah.
breaks between single issues, that's just, to me, is seems crazy. So, gonna talk a Black Mask comic, and this is There's Nothing There, issue number 2. I really liked issue number 1. I really like issue number 2 too. I mean, the cover art is indicative of what's inside. I like this style of art, the sloppy inks, the interesting colors. And when something is trippy and psycho, like all the eyeballs back here, it is really trippy and psycho. And I really dig that. I actually really liking the story too. So we've got our kind of our dilettante girl who she's like a famous reality TV star at one point, kind of a thing. She spends as much time maintaining her status through social media and that sort of thing. Kind of a Kardashian-ish kind of a thing, but not a Kardashian. But that whole kind of that's how she is known. You know, it's not that she is actually producing anything. You know, it's not like she's creating real content. She's just exists, and that's supposedly entertainment. So that's who she is, basically. She's freaking out because she has just seen a dead girl in the end of the last issue. This little girl shows up at their doorstep, clearly a ghost. She's in a limo with her friend. She's like totally freaking out because they just saw this ghost. Her friend is telling her she's got to get ready, you got to get your makeup on. You know, you've got this movie premiere she's supposed to walk the red carpet for and whatnot. And she's like to her friend, you know, why aren't you freaking out? She goes, well, I'm not accepting it's a ghost yet. I'm just, and it's easier for me to just not think about it and move on than to freak out over that. So get her kind of settled down. She goes onto the red carpet, starts asking her questions. She sees some other ghost shows up. She completely loses it, faints and whatnot. So of course, social media thinks that she's, you know, some, you know, typical Hollywood drug addict or anorexic or all the other crazy things that go on and whatnot. So she continues to be haunted by ghosts after issue 1, kind of being on the outskirts of this magic ritual that was supposed to do something. It was supposed to, you know, give this one person insight. Well, so in this issue, we get a brief moment of back with the guy who performed the ritual. You know, he's going on with his kind of magical day. Not that he's really doing magic, but he's like part of a secret society where they spend all their time talking about magic because they're really rich. They don't have to actually work, kind of a thing. And somebody has been throwing bones to kind of forecast the future, and the bones keep saying this thing. So they rush to get him, and they have this conversation, and they see this stuff. They know that somebody at the party is leaking something or something. So now they're off trying to get a list of all the people that were there. So I'm sure it's going to lead back to her at some point. We get a brief scene with another character who's clearly knows stuff's going on too. He's like hiding in his house. The roommates want to take him to a party. He's like, not going to the party. You get inside his room, and his room is covered in weird magic sigils and weird eyeballs and stuff like that. it's so right now it's lots of craziness, lots of confusion, and lots of, oh my gosh, are there really ghosts? Are there not really ghosts? Am I going crazy? Did I take some drugs I didn't know I took? Kind of a thing. But like I said, I'm really enjoying it just because it is kind of a head case, kind of a thing where it's just kind of trippy and you're not 100% sure. And it's kind of funny seeing this girl who's so overexposed, she can't go anywhere. They're at a diner trying to talk things out. And of course, everybody sees her there. They're snapping pictures of her. Can I have a selfie? And of course, she's trying to put on the good face because, of course, that's how she makes a living, is by being this celebrity. But at the same time, while they're taking selfies of her, she's seeing people where their eyes are sinking back in their heads and they're looking like dead people. So she's completely, losing it. So her friend's trying to make up excuses on the fly as to why she's acting so screwed up, kind of thing, to not damage her image any more than it's already damaged. And it's just getting worse. I mean, the snowball just keeps getting bigger and bigger because, of course, everybody keeps catching her having these moments where she's freaking out. So I don't know where the story's going to go or how long it's going to last, but it's been kind of fun. So, you got any other books today?
No, just those two.
Okay. Let's see what else I want to talk about real quick. Second issue of The Damned. Another Cullen Bunn book. Cullen Bunn, Brian Hurt, Bill Crabtree. In my mind, famously the creative team of Sixth Gun. They're going with this book, The Damned. Now this is their ongoing book. It spins off of they did a mini series quite a ways back called The Damned, I believe. And this takes off from there. Set basically 1920s prohibitionish kind of era America. There are demons walking around. Most of us can't see those demons as humans. Some people can. Our main character, he can see them. And the demons are trying to collect souls because that's their thing to do. That's what demons do while they party on Earth. And some of the gangsters are demons themselves. This is Big Al on the cover here. He just looks like a big huge gangster, unless of course you can see what he really looks like, and he's got the big the big demon horns and whatnot. Our main character, I'm drawing a blank on his name right now, has a friend whose name is Pete. He won something in a dice game from some other demons, and now basically all hell is breaking loose. They want to find the guy. They want to get back what he won, and they'll get it back however they can, kind of a thing. It's a key. We see it in this issue. It looks like some sort of key. They don't know what it's a key to, but clearly it's really valuable because everybody wants it, kind of a thing. So now they're trying to figure out, can they use it as leverage to get their souls back? Because both of these guys have kind of bartered their souls away. So when they die, they're really screwed. Our main character has got like some curse on him that actually, as long as if he gets injured and he's about ready to die, if he touches somebody else, they die instead and he gets to keep going, kind of thing. But of course, that means he's murdering somebody. But he's just buying time, trying to figure out how to get his own soul back. In this issue, there's a deal goes down between Big Al and some moonshiners who haven't sold their souls. There's a big shootout. Most of the moonshiners get wiped out, and they basically force this guy to sell his soul as kind of an example to our main character that what kind of leverage these guys really have, kind of a thing. So I really enjoy it. It's interesting. It's fun. I'm huge Brian Hurt fan of his art. I just think he does. I just think that he's a really good craftsman of showing emotions and whatnot. Here's the shootout. They're talking. You see these guys line up. Here's the back. There's the meeting. Here's the guys line up, and then you hear the click of the guns, and then the separation. I love the separation of this panel. Here's all the guys shooting, and here's all the moonshiners getting cut down. But I just, like I said, I really enjoy Brian Hurt's artwork a lot. Kind of inclined to buy anything that he's doing the art on, just because I think he does such a really good job of storytelling, the panel layouts, making sure when your eye goes across the page, it makes sense, where people are positioned at and stuff like that. So yeah, some good stuff.
We had asked the question last time, are all the lines on his face scars? Do you feel that they are? Or?
Yes. Yeah, they are. He in the past has been hacked up pretty bad. Yeah.
Because I think they even they alluded to it. I think when they cut him and then he touched the homeless guy
Hmm.
because it was or well, not the homeless, it was the guy they brought for him.
Right.
That he does, it still of course affects him. He nearly dies every
Hmm.
time. So
Hmm. Yeah. And so we've got all these players in place. The guy who lost this key gets killed by the end of the thing by a guy who looks like a normal human, but he's clearly working for somebody who's bigger and badder than these average demons are. So you've got that guy in play who's working for some higher or lower power, depending on how you want to look at it. And then we've got Big Al, who clearly wants a stake in this key that's going on, and who knows how many other demons, because the demons, they aren't all friends with each other either. They're all playing their own games. So be interesting to see how they walk this line. And in this issue, we also get introduced to a motley group of people who clearly have sold their soul or owe something to the demons too, and they're looking for leverage, so they'd like to get a hold of the key too. But they all look different. I mean, one guy's is missing an arm, and he's got weird like animal gold kind of colored eyes. There's another person with this woman with these giant bugged out eyes and stuff, and then there's a guy with, it looks like he's got some of the infliction that I can't remember what it's called. We get too much water on your head, and so your head gets huge and sags to the side, kind of like the Elephant Man sort of thing. So they're a motley group of people, and they are normally in hiding all the time, but here they are out in the open because they've heard that this, that this guy, this friend of his has this key, and if they can get a hold of it, they can get leverage to get their souls back, or that sort of thing. So everybody is gunning for this.
are they kind of like his friend from the first issue, the lady who could kind of see what was coming?
Yes,
right.
this motley group of people. She contacted them to say, "Hey, this thing's happening." So they're like, "Well, we heard from Sophie. We heard from Sophie that this guy's got this thing." So, and he for some reason still feels obligated to protect Pete. Ed's the guy's name, the main character's name is Ed. And so, and for whatever reason, his club is a demon-free war zone. No one can mess with him in his club. And if he tells you to leave, you can't show up. I mean, it does not happen. People don't go there. They don't mess with him. So as long as his friend stays at that club, supposedly everything is safe. But he also knows whatever that deal is that makes his place safe, it could be threatened. He doesn't want that. So he has some obligation to this guy, to Pete, but not 100%. It's like, I want to protect him, but is it worth, what risk is it to me? So now he knows that it's a key, and he's like, okay, now we know what it is. Now we need to know what it's for. Do we leverage this, or do we just like throw it out the back door and hope that someone takes it and goes away because this is way too hot for us to handle, or whatever? So I mean, it's like I said, it's interesting. I like it, and I'm a big fan of those creators and love that art. So that makes me pretty happy for it. Let's see other odd books that came out. This is Bitch Planet, triple feature, issue number 1. So these were originally going to be small stories by relatively unknown creators that were going to be backup stories in the back of Bitch Planet after they got done with the other type of back matter that's in the Bitch Planet regular book. That didn't really kind of go through. Of course, Bitch Planet is way behind on schedule. They just keep getting farther and far behind between hard problems writing the script, the hardest having their issues or whatever. So Eric Stevenson, who's one of the heads of Image, goes, well, do you got anything we can kind of put in its place? Anything else? Any other ideas to kind of keep a book on the shelf so it's still out there? The idea is still out there and whatnot. And they're like, well, we have these small little stories. Can we sell those as an anthology? And they're like, awesome. Or I think Kelly Sudikonic in here says that actually Eric's the one. We got these backup issues, these backup stories. Let's throw them all together, kind of a thing. So that's what this is: 3 stories in 1 issue, using the Bitch Planet world as kind of the backdrop to tell these stories. Clearly, all of the stories are written from the kind of not so much there. These stories are less exploitive in the whole kind of, you know, woman prison exploitation film-esque that the Bitch Planet book is kind of buried in. This is less so. Clearly has a continues the bent of, you know, we're living in a patriarchal society where men, you know, control stuff in relatively savage and uncaring ways in this. If that's not your cup of tea, if you didn't like Bitch Planet because of those elements and those themes, clearly don't pick this up. Don't buy this book just so you can tear it in half and make yourself look cool. There's no point in doing that. But I liked it. I you know, I like some of the stories in it. Some of them were better than others were. I mean, one's kind of a creepy one where a woman is a secretary and kind of, you know, like the extreme levels of abuse that men would heap upon a secretary was kind of creepy. The last one, The Invisible Woman, is the one I like the best. You know, basically a woman is working for a small company, a media company, and you know, she wants to be upwardly mobile and you know, become the face of part of the company and stuff. That's her goal and whatnot. And she's at the hairstylist, and she tells the hairstylist, I need to be big up top. Make me big up top. The boss said I need to be big up top. That's what he wants. That's what he needs, you know, kind of a thing. And the hairstylist is like, oh, sure. That's what he means. You know, she's a relatively flat-chested woman. And so she does her hair all big, poofy and whatnot. She shows up, and the guy's on the phone talking to somebody else. You know, sure, you can talk, you know, meet him. He really isn't going to give her the time of day, other than he barely gets the phone long enough to say, oh, lady, you know, you're so no. I mean, he does the gesture of, you know, I want this, shakes his head and goes, sorry, you know, you're not right for this job. And I mean, it takes her up until that point before she gets what the implication was. She's like, no, man, this was my life. This was my dream. You can't just, and not only are you not right for this job, we're firing you. We don't need you at all anymore, you know, kind of a thing. And she basically gets kind of thrown to the street. And when she's thrown to the street, well, she's not physically thrown to the street, but basically escorted out the door and whatnot. She finds these women are vandalizing. It's kind of like Times Square, and there's all these, you know, high fashion, you know, perfect women kind of thing. And there's these other women on scaffolding. They're spray painting across them. They're vandalizing them, you know, kind of a thing. And she kind of embraces that invisibility kind of thing, and then uses her lack of being super chesty like her boss wants to, and flashes a bunch of people with some information on her chest and whatnot to try and become visible, kind of a thing. But I did like that. I did like that story. I think it's interesting. I like reading it just to see people's take on some of that stuff. You know, some of it's heavy-handed at times, but I'm still curious about the world and reading that stuff, so I'm kind of enjoying that still. So, I think that's it. I think that's it for books I need to talk about this week. I don't know of any indie-ish kind of stuff. I haven't heard anybody announcing books that or anything like that I'm overly excited about. Or
the Hellboy, I was interested in that one. That we're
yes.
going to continue the series, so it's always good to see another one of the.
Was it Hellboy in Hell 1953? Is that what it's going to be?
Yeah, 53 sounds right. Yep.
And this one's going to be either 3 or 4 issues, right?
I believe so.
Which I'm excited for that. Give a little more room to tell a little more story. The last one seemed awfully quick. You know, we got a lot of it where it was just kind of like, you know, in the narration boxes, kind of telling us the story and whatnot. So I'm hoping this one's a little less of that. You know, more pages, more panels to tell more of whatever the story is going to be there. So yeah. And still the same people all in the book. They're keeping Brian Chirillo around to continue to do the artwork. I really liked his version of Hellboy. So definitely excited and looking forward to that. Yeah. I'm looking at the comments really quick. Ryan was saying that he's going to school for archaeology, and when he saw me talking about World Reader a while ago, he was super interested. He was able to get the first 2 issues this week. He can't wait to get into the 3rd. I did read issue 3. I'm still really enjoying it. It's, you know, our main character is now raced away from the rest of the group, the military people, and she's just trying to get to the worlds as fast as she can to try and kind of, you know, psychically read what happened there to see if she can figure out what's going on before the military screws it all up, potentially, kind of a thing. This issue, we get like her whole back history. We get this kind of, you know, she is talking to her dead husband. So we find out kind of her finding her husband, what that meant to her, the after effects of that. She clearly, she kind of lived her life in a constant state of noise. She was always seeing all this dead stuff passing around her constantly. She's, you know, one day she's at the park trying to clear her head. She can't get her head cleared. And this man sits down, and when he sits down and starts talking to her, everything goes away, and it ends up being her husband. And so he, you know, she ends up marrying this guy because she keeps him clear. Then he ends up getting people on Earth are dying, so he so they are of some sort of disease. I mean, the human population is dwindling quickly. That's why they're trying to look for someplace else to live on other worlds. He ends up succumbing to that. She thinks, oh, it's no big deal when he dies and she actually helps him finish dying, so he quits suffering, because it's like a really horrible suffering death. Because she figures it's no big deal, right? When he dies, he'll be around because she sees all the dead people, right? No, he dies. That's the one person she can, for whatever reason, can never see. And more story ensues, which I won't spoil for Ryan there. But I've really been enjoying it. It's interesting story. Curious to see where it goes. I'm really puzzled though. The art is by John Doe. John Doe is doing the art on this for Aftershocks Comics. He's doing the art on American Monster for Aftershock Comics. There's an ad in here for the next Together We Will Rise, the kind of animosity spin-off story from the main story. He does the artwork for that also. I'm puzzled. I mean, his art is simple in a lot of ways. Not John. Sorry, Juan Doe. Ryan C is correcting me now. Thanks, Ryan. Juan Doe, not John Doe. Juan Doe. How is he doing all his books? And like I said, I know his art is simple, but I mean, there's huge breaks going on are going to happen between some of these books. I know, like American Monster has had some real serious schedule slowdowns, it seems like. But yeah, I mean, clearly he's an artist that Aftershocks Comics likes to use because he's on, like I said, 3 or 4 books. So kind of strange, but anyway. Yeah. I don't know of any other indie-ish kind of stuff or anything like that, or any other kind of news like that. So
you mentioned in your WTF/Hall video that
Boom Studios,
yeah,
right, that Fox proper has bought a minor controlling share of Boom Studios. So what that really means is it gives Fox first rights at both TV and movie rights first. They get first looks at anything that Boom Studios is putting out now. So in one way, great, because I mean, that makes it probably a little easier for creators to get to maybe fairly get their piece of the pie, maybe.
Yeah.
As far as the stuff that's out there and these comic book creators that are working hard, if their stuff gets turned into one of these other things, I'm really happy for them, because I'm assuming that puts money in their pockets to give them a little more breathing room to then pursue more creator-owned stuff, more what they want to do, as opposed to, I need to go do this work because this is this is freelance work and what pays the bills. That kind of stuff pays the bills, so then they can continue to do the stuff that they want to do. you know, kind of a thing. That way they can continue to do their art as opposed to having to do maybe the mindless stuff that they don't want to do, kind of a thing. So great in that sense. Me personally, makes me nervous. The other side to that is, does that mean that then you're going to start seeing more people writing what they really are just hoping is going to be movie script or TV script, and the artists end up being more and more just storyboarders, because there's a huge difference between storyboards and sequential art. You know, so I know that's the other side to that. I'm watching the comments, and Ryan's reminding me that the Animosity spinoff is only a quarterly book, so that makes it a little easier to put that, you know, for him to do that, because it only happens every so often. And about the Boom Studio thing, he's saying that it's about 30% cut of the company, from what he's heard from a fairly reliable source. Yeah.
Sure.
So, yeah, I don't know.
Still
so
a nice chunk of change for Boom Studios, though, so that's probably helped them out quite a bit.
Sure. I mean, that's I mean, it's, you know, part of that is definitely an advantage. I just hope it doesn't, like a lot of things, I just hope it doesn't pollute comic books, what they are. Because I love movies, I love television, but not anything like I love my comic books. So I just don't want to see that go away. I mean, and that's my beef with digital comics, is it has the potential to
damage the product.
Well, I think it degrades the medium. It doesn't elevate the medium. You know, if you start creating, like in the case of digital comics, if you start creating a book that is based on a single panel, seeing just a single panel on your tablet at a time, then the way the page is laid out, the way the panel's laid out, all that stuff becomes less important. And that is all a huge part of what makes a comic book special for me. The nuts and bolts, the mechanics of how all that stuff works, that, like I said, all of us may not look at and understand, or care to take the time to understand, oh, this being laid the way it is, the people facing the directions they're facing, the way the dialogue is, you know, the word balloons are you know, stuck on the you know, the page and all that stuff. You may not care to know all that stuff, but all that stuff's important. There's an art to that.
Well, and I think some of that comes down to, though, there's an easy, simple, lazy way of doing it where they snapshot and do that, but they could improve it. I mean, I know they tried to do the motion comics for a while, and that was awful, but there's got to be something where they can use an artist idea and make it a flow as they should, you know, as your eye goes, that it would transition from frame to frame, or how the artist wants it, you know, framed differently in that digital format. There's eventually going to be something, but they're not investing in it yet. So some third party will come through and make a lot of money off of it. Because I don't think Marvel and DC would be doing anything if it wasn't Comixology putting all that money into the digital format.
Probably. So Ryan is saying that Aftershocks Comic is a Hollywood-driven company also. Because if I remember correctly, Aftershocks Comics is bankrolled by a guy who is in Hollywood, and basically hired oh, holy cows, I cannot remember his name now.
Was it
it's the editor. No, it was the editor for DC for the longest time, and then he went to Marvel very briefly, and then jumped to Aftershocks Comics. He was the lead editor for all the Batman stuff for a very long time, and I'm drawing a blank on his name right offhand. Mike Martz. Thank you, Ryan. Mike Martz is kind of like the comic book end of it, but is a Hollywood guy involved with that too. So he's basically, what he's saying is he figures the Boom Studio ultimately may end up being the same as Aftershock Comics, where it's all driven by the writer. The writer is the important person. That's the person they hire, and then they just get some, you know, hired guns to do the artwork for it. It's not like it's not a cohesive creator you know, thing. Except I am starting to see more and more Aftershocks Comics where the artists are getting the when you look at the the who has ownership, the trademarks on it, whatnot. I'm seeing more and more where the artists have a stake in that now too, as opposed to it just being the writer. Because like you look at like some of those first Aftershocks comics that came out, like the Marguerite Bennett ones, it's all Marguerite Bennett, and the artists are, they don't have trademark rights to it and whatnot. So, but I don't know.
The voice for the kid on How to Control a Dragon or How to Tame a Dragon, he is working with the Canadian comic. I can't think of what the name of the company is. I was trying to look through Newsarama to find it. But he's trying to work on it more to, it's like Captain Canuck and the Pitiful Lizard and all those comics. Chapter House, I think Chapter House. I think he's becomes chief creative officer and co-owner of Chapter House. Jay Barsholo.
Okay.
So I thought that was interesting. So that's another Hollywood connection. Somebody who has some connection to movies and that, and we might start seeing more from Chapter House Comics.
Cool.
Yeah. I think they mentioned something about like they're trying to do a Captain Canuck movie, I think. So
I mean, I know the money has to come from somewhere to keep the stuff running and whatnot. I mean, I totally get that and whatnot. I just think it'd be nice if, you know, I'm not against, you know, the Hollywood connections and whatnot. I just think it'd be nice if they started creating products that enough people were excited about, that's what kept comics running. Was the love of comics, not the love of the idea that this might be the next blockbuster, you know, or whatever. That's really kind of what I hope for. I mean, maybe that's, you know, pie in the sky, you know, hopeful thinking and whatnot, but that's, you know, that's kind of what, you know, where I'm at. Like I said, I'm not against any book and any creator who's out there, who's making good comics and whatnot, and somebody decides to come and pick it up and make something else of it, and they're going to make some money on it. Awesome. You know, good for them. You know, at least they're going to get to experience that, where so many creators, you know, for the big two, where it's all corporate owned stuff, which that's fine, because that's what it is, you know, and you know that getting into it, at least nowadays, you know that getting into it, you know, those people aren't getting as much, but hell, even they are. I mean, I still see Phil Hester occasionally commenting on the fact that he's buying some high end original pages of art.
Oh yeah.
And there was some comment on, you know, so are you selling some of your other stuff to pay for this? Because some of us are interested, because the guy's got a lot of really awesome art, and if we hear he maybe is going to part with a piece, maybe it's a piece that maybe we can figure out how to afford, so he could, you know, because lots of these, you know, lots of comic book art collectors, you know, will do that. They'll sell some of their minor pieces together to get a bigger piece, kind of thing. And he was commenting on the fact that no, luckily, he still got money coming in off the Suicide Squad. And that's because that's extra money, because that's money he never planned. You know, it was never part of my, I'm working hard doing this, and I know this is the money I got to pay for things. This is like a sudden, you know, like winning the lottery kind of a thing. And that's what he's using to buy pages. And he's buying some serious pages. He's buying some, you know, awesome, or attempting to. He keeps getting outbid. Someone keeps sniping him, but he's bidding on some really, really cool stuff. Some stuff that would be, as a, especially like him being a comic book artist himself, and him loving the craft of comic books, he's picking some. He has some really cool stuff in his collection and what he's trying to get. So cool. I mean, cool for those people, like I said, that are getting some of the kickback off from that stuff. So, because otherwise, some of that stuff it doesn't sound to me like you really make money on. So. You don't do comic books to make it rich. So.
Yeah, that's when I talked with Elliot Rowell about paybacks and all that. It was interesting to hear about like how much work they were already ahead, and then of course, you know, each group said no, we're done after 4, and you know he's still trying to get everybody paid off. So it was interesting to hear that part of it too. So that unless your comic explodes and you're the next Walking Dead, you know, good luck making it super rich.
Yeah. Ryan C is saying so Hester must have co-created one of the Suicide Squad characters. He's Diablo, right?
I don't know for sure.
I think that's the I think that's the character that he is part responsible for, I believe.
Right.
Well, that, off the top of my head, that's what I want to say, that that's who it is. I don't know that for sure, but I'm thinking that's who it is. Because everybody else on that group is
Established and
well, really old, or Paul Dini, right?
Yeah.
Because that's Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, so yeah, can't think of anything else that's
No.
press whatever. So I guess we'll call it a night. Happy Father's Day to those people who are dads out there, or near to be dads, maybe. So enjoy the day. I'm off to take a long car drive, but it's okay. I'm gonna go see some music, which will be cool with my kids, and enjoy that. So hopefully everybody else has a great Father's Day, whatever that entails. I always think it's really curious. Father's Day, everybody goes out and grills, so dad has to work. I don't understand that, but whatever. And we'll be back next week with more comics, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So have a great one, everybody. Thanks for watching. Thanks for commenting, guys. Anybody who comments after that, always appreciate it. And have a great night.